Chapter 14:15. Master, if you want to enter the weak space, you have to have the power of origin. How is that possible? It was almost impossible. The power of origin was a power that only those at the peak of martial arts could have. When Longao obtained the power of origin, he chose to give it up in the end because he was prepared to walk his own martial path. Apart from this method, is there any other way? Longao had already decided that even if the weak space was a dragon's pool or a tiger's den, he would still enter. He had to enter. Master, if you can use the power of the primal chaos stone tablet and form a barrier, you might be able to resist. Longao didn't ask any more questions. The primal chaos stone tablet was within his dantian. If he wanted to use it, it wouldn't be an easy matter. Longao brought Xiling into the dragon seal space. Because Shirchong and the others had already arrived, who knew if they would find him? The dragon seal space was incomparably safe. Just like that, Longao began to try to use the primal chaos stone tablet within his dantian. The 5-element stone tablet and the devouring stone tablet had already fused together. Longao was a little confused. He didn't know how these two different types of primal chaos stone tablets could fuse together. Not just Longao, even Xiling and Long Fu didn't know what was going on. About 6 hours later, Longao was very anxious. Now that Bai Ling and the two little fellows' lives were unknown, how could he be at ease and use the power of the primal chaos stone tablet? Every minute he delayed, the two little fellows and Bai Ling would be in more danger. It was as if he could see the anxiety in Longao's heart. Xiling sighed deeply in his heart. Longao, with your current situation, you can't use the power of the primal chaos stone tablet? I know. Long Fu already said that this is the only way I can stand in the weak space. Otherwise, even if I enter, I won't be able to save Bai Ling and the two little fellows. Even I won't be able to leave alive. Time was life. Under such circumstances, Longao wished that his strength could immediately break through from the heavenly god realm to the peak stage of the martial way. That way, he would be able to casually enter and exit the weak space. Longao, do you still remember what I told you about the Myriad Beasts sect? Even the divine mathematician and the Heaven Tao don't want to reveal the secrets of the Myriad Beasts sect. He nodded. What is the relationship between the weak space and the secret? Longao was not a fool. Listening to the voice, he naturally knew what Xiling meant. Your guess is correct. The so-called weak space is the weakest space of the martial heaven continent. Once it's destroyed, let alone you, even everyone except the heavenly Daos and the god diviner will be destroyed. Was this for real? Longao was a little shocked because he did not expect the weak space to be so terrifying. In other words, the Myriad Beasts Gate's weak space was one of the martial heaven continent's weak spots. It was no wonder even the heavenly Daos and the god diviner weren't willing to destroy it. Xiling, I'm not stupid enough to destroy it. I believe that. No one thought that their life was too long. Longao, there's something you don't know. Later, Long Fu and I will work together to forcibly open a space tunnel for you. If you're unlucky, a crack will appear in the weak space. Then, as time passes, the weak space will be destroyed. I don't need to explain what that means. I believe you know. I don't care about that. Xiling was not surprised because he knew Longao's character very well. Longao, I have a way to let you temporarily enter the weak space without being destroyed. What is it? Hearing that Xiling had a way, Longao was overjoyed. He could not wait to ask. No matter what the method was, as long as he could save Bai Ling and the two little fellows, Longao would not hesitate even if it was a mountain of blades or a sea of flames. After thinking for a while, Xiling looked around and finally said, Longao, I won't hide it from you. The main reason why ordinary people can't enter the weak space is because there's an endless amount of forbidden power in the weak space. If ordinary people enter, they will be killed instantly by the forbidden power. Regarding this point, Longao had already guessed. Only the marvelous mathematician and Tian Dao could enter the weak space. Once others entered, they would definitely die. As long as they were not fools, they would be able to guess what was going on. How terrifying the taboo power was. Longao was clearer than anyone else in his heart. Just as Long Fu was worried, unless he had the origin energy, He believed that he could resist the forbidden power. Otherwise, once he entered the weak space, he would definitely be killed instantly by the forbidden power. That was exactly the case. Longao was very curious about what method Xiling had to let him enter the weak space so that he would not be killed instantly by the forbidden power. Longao, if you don't want to be killed by the forbidden power when you enter the weak space, the only way is to control your doppelganger. You mean that the reincarnation doppelganger can ignore the forbidden power? He was very shocked. Although Longao had full confidence in the reincarnation doppelganger, he knew better than anyone else what the forbidden power meant. He had never thought that his reincarnation doppelganger could ignore the forbidden power. Xiling also seemed to be a little confused and said, "I don't know either. But based on my observations, I can tell you that your reincarnation doppelganger is immortal as long as it doesn't encounter a destructive force. Therefore, I can be even more certain that your reincarnation doppelganger can ignore the forbidden power. In that case, why do you have to enter the weak space? Why don't you split up?" Split up? What did that mean? Before Longao could speak, Xiling continued, "Longao, you should remember that I told you about the divine beast black tortoise. You want me to look for the divine beast black tortoise now?" Longao was not in the mood to look for the so-called divine beast black tortoise. Bai Ling and the two little guys were still trapped in the weak space. Who knew if they were dead or alive? Under such circumstances, he did not even care about the divine beast black tortoise, let alone the divine beast black tortoise. "Longao, even if you stay here, it won't make any difference. Why don't you take this opportunity to find the divine beast black tortoise and refine the black tortoise armor? By then, your strength will be able to sweep across the supreme realm. You have to remember, without strength, even if your sister wakes up this time, what about the future?" After hearing Xiling's words, Longao seemed to be greatly moved. Strength. Xiling was right. In this world where strength was respected, without strength, it was equivalent to having nothing. Even his own life and the lives of his family could not be protected. Just like before, if he had enough strength, would Bai Ling still have to sacrifice herself to protect him? If he had enough strength, would Yu Yin and Aoshue still have to leave him? P.S. I accidentally fell asleep and woke up at 2:20. Sorry, the 8th chapter has been delivered. Xiaoju has a cup of coffee and continues to write. I won't sleep until I finish the remaining 2 chapters tonight. Chapter 14:16. Without strength, it would be hard to do anything. Without strength, he could not even protect himself. Without strength, he could not even protect his family and loved ones. Strength. He must have enough strength. Thinking of this, Longao said firmly, "You're right. I must get the divine beast black tortoise." Xiling, where should I go to find the divine beast black tortoise? According to Xiling, as long as he could get the divine beast black tortoise, he could use the dragon seal and Long Fu's power to refine the divine beast black tortoise into the black tortoise armor. The divine beast black tortoise's defensive power was needless to say. He believed that the black tortoise armor refined from the divine beast black tortoise's defensive power was equally terrifying. Once his cultivation broke through to the supreme divine path, Longao was confident that he could even fight against an emperor god with the help of the black tortoise armor. "Come with me." As soon as Longao left the dragon seal space, he felt an aura sweep past him. He was shocked. Fortunately, he was sensitive to spatial fluctuations. Otherwise, he would have been discovered by Shi Feng and Shi Chong if he was caught off guard. Longao was not afraid of the Wanshou sect, but he did not want to cause trouble at this time. On the other side, Shi Feng and Shi Chong had sealed off the Wanshou cliff. No one was allowed to enter without permission, otherwise they would be killed. "Father, we have searched all the black holes and did not find any trace of Longao." At this point, Shi Patian did not continue, but the meaning in his words was very clear. Shi Chong knew exactly what his son was implying. Helpless, deeply helpless. It seems that Longao has left the Wanshou cliff, but the sect has sealed off. I don't believe that he can leave. Shi Chong was still unwilling to give up. Jinling at the peak of the martial path was rare. No one would give up easily, let alone Shi Chong. "Father, Longao's spatial artifact is too powerful. We can't catch Longao alone." Shirpatian was depressed. Speaking of Longao's strength, not to mention the three of them joining forces, even if any one of them casually came out, they could easily deal with Longao. Helplessly, Longao didn't fight them head-on. He always used his spatial artifact to disappear. If this continued, then even if they found Longao, what could they do? Could it be that Longao would still enter the main hall? Big brother, Patian is right. We have to think of a way. Otherwise, even if we can find Longao, it will be useless. Jianling, who had reached the pinnacle of martial arts, was something Shi Chong was determined to obtain. It was impossible for a Nirvana realm martial artist to obtain the origin energy as it was completely controlled by the heavenly Tao. Shi Chong knew very well that this was his only chance. If he missed this opportunity, it would be almost impossible for him to reach the peak of martial arts in the future. Father, why don't we ask the old ancestor to come out? Hearing Heavenbreaker's words, both Shi Feng and Shi Chong were shocked. If it was any other matter, they would have agreed without hesitation. But this matter was different. They were almost certain that once the old ancestor knew about this, the Jianling would have nothing to do with them. How could they agree to give up the Jianling for nothing? Patian, I just want to ask you one thing. Do you want to give up the Jianling? No. Patian wasn't a fool. Of course, he knew what his father and second uncle meant. After thinking for a while, Patian said, Father, second uncle, with our strength, we can't catch Longao. If that's the case, we will also lose our chance. Since that's the case, why don't we inform the old ancestor? With the old ancestor's magical power, I believe this matter will be successful. Before Shi Feng and Shi Chong could speak, Patian continued. The three of us have already reached the Nirvana realm. As long as we ask the old ancestor to let us devour half of the Jianling, I believe we can reach the peak of martial arts in the future. If the three of them devoured half of the Jianling, the time for them to reach the peak of martial arts would be delayed indefinitely. Even if we are willing, will the old ancestor agree? Devouring half of the Jianling and devouring half of the Jianling were two completely different concepts. How should they choose? Just as the three of them were discussing what to do, they didn't realize that Longao had already left the black hole by teleporting and jumped directly to the bottom of the cliff of beasts. If the three of them knew that Longao was in the black hole, they would be furious. They couldn't even find Longao right under their noses. Just as Longao was descending quickly, when he was halfway down, Longao forcefully controlled his body, took a step forward, and shot towards the pitch-black wall in front of him. He disappeared. If Longao was alone, he wouldn't be able to find the entrance, but with Xiling's help, Longao entered the huge cave accurately. The entire cave was extremely huge. As soon as Longao stepped into the cave, he could clearly feel that there was a terrifying force inside the cave, like a seal. There was no doubt that the seal in the cave was to seal the divine beast Black Tortoise. Longao couldn't imagine who sealed the divine beast Black Tortoise in the Wanshou sect. After all, the divine beast Black Tortoise's strength was obvious. Could it be the Wanshou sect's old ancestor? In the middle of the cave, there was a mythological beast that was like a small mountain. It looked extremely strange because the monster looked like a giant snake and a tortoise. Longao almost didn't need to guess. He had already asserted that the mythological beast in front of him was his target this time. The mythological beast Black Tortoise. Longao, don't worry. The divine beast Black Tortoise's strength is less than 1/10,000th of its peak strength. Not to mention your strength, even a Xiantian warrior can easily defeat the divine beast Black Tortoise. Your luck is really good. Nodding, Longao was a little excited about his luck. He found the divine beast Black Tortoise at this time, and its strength was less than 1/10,000th of its peak strength. What did this mean? It meant that he could easily defeat the divine beast Black Tortoise without any hesitation. Longao couldn't resist such temptation. After all, according to Xiling, as long as he could kill the divine beast Black Tortoise, then Long Fu could refine the Black Tortoise armor for him. At that time, even if he was standing, he believed that a divine emperor warrior wouldn't be able to break through his physical defense. Just as Longao was about to attack, the divine beast Black Tortoise, which seemed to be sleeping, suddenly opened its eyes, startling Longao. Its old and weak voice sounded. Human, do you want to kill me? Longao nodded. Things had already come to this point, so he didn't say any more nonsense. Did he want to talk about feelings with you? It was completely nonsense, so he might as well get straight to the point. P.S. Chapter 9 has been delivered. It's 5 o'clock. Little 9 can't stay up any longer, so he's going to sleep first. The last chapter will be added later. Chapter 14-17. Longao, do it. Longao didn't want to waste any more time. He came here mainly to kill the divine beast Black Tortoise. If the divine beast Black Tortoise was in its prime, Longao knew what it meant. Even Shirchong and Shirfeng wouldn't be able to defeat the divine beast Black Tortoise. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He couldn't miss it. You can't kill me. Ignore. Since things had already come to this, why couldn't he kill him? Longao didn't take the divine beast Black Tortoise's words to heart. He was a little excited at the thought of getting the Black Tortoise armor. But in the end, just as Longao was about to attack, the divine beast Black Tortoise, which was sleeping, suddenly moved. Boom! With a loud bang, Longao's fist landed on the divine beast Black Tortoise's body and was bounced back. Lin Fan was shocked. What a strong physical defense. No wonder it was the divine beast Black Tortoise. Even in its current situation, its physical defense was still so terrifying. Lin Fan's punch couldn't break through and was bounced back by the divine beast Black Tortoise. Human, with your strength, you can't break through my defense. Hearing this, Longao's face turned ugly. He was despised by the divine beast Black Tortoise, blatantly despised. Human, I know what you mean. As long as you can avenge me, not only will I kill myself here, but I will also give you a treasure. With it, you can kill enemies above your level. How about it? Avenge? Longao wasn't a fool. The person who could defeat the divine beast Black Tortoise and seal it here was definitely not simple. It might even be the so-called Thousand Beasts ancestor. Although he was already at war with the Wanshou sect, Longao was very clear about his own strength. Going against the Wanshou sect ancestor was simply courting death. Longao didn't reject immediately. Instead, he said, I want to see your so-called treasure first. Xiling, be careful. I'm afraid the divine beast Black Tortoise wants to take your body. Lin Fan nodded. Regarding the meaning in Xiling's words, how could Longao not know? The divine beast Black Tortoise was already sealed here. It was almost impossible for it to leave. In other words, there were only two ways for the divine beast Black Tortoise to escape. The first was to break the seal and leave. The second was to take over someone else's body and use external forces to leave. It was obvious that the divine beast Black Tortoise was unable to break the seal here, so there was only the second way. As expected, just as Longao and Xiling were talking, the divine beast Black Tortoise, which had been extremely weak just a moment ago, suddenly released a terrifying suction force from its body and sucked Longao in. If it weren't for Xiling's reminder, and if he hadn't been careful, Longao would have been at a disadvantage by now. Emperor Dragon 9 kills. Emperor Dragon's Raging Waves, Emperor Dragon's Heaven Burial, Emperor Dragon's Strangulation, Emperor Dragon's Dominance, Emperor Dragon's Collapse, Emperor Dragon's Meteor Explosion, Emperor Dragon's Heart Devour, and Emperor Dragon's Destruction of the Firmament. 9 consecutive strikes. Longao punched the divine beast Black Tortoise with both his fists. Punch after punch, Longao's speed soared to the extreme. Every punch landed on the divine beast Black Tortoise. He still couldn't break through the divine beast Black Tortoise's defense. Ha ha ha, human. With just you? You want to break through my defense? What a joke, ha. The divine beast Black Tortoise laughed crazily. The entire cave was filled with the divine beast Black Tortoise's crazy laughter. Confidence. The divine beast Black Tortoise's crazy laughter represented its strong confidence. After all, the divine beast Black Tortoise was known as the divine beast with the strongest defense in the world. Even a Nirvana Realm warrior might not be able to break through its defense, let alone a Supreme Realm warrior. Unable to break through the divine beast Black Tortoise's defense, Longao took 10 steps back and looked coldly at the divine beast Black Tortoise who was laughing crazily in front of him. Xiling, How can I break through the divine beast Black Tortoise's defense? He thought. With the divine beast Black Tortoise's current situation, he could easily break through the divine beast Black Tortoise's defense. However, he did not expect that even at this stage, the divine beast Black Tortoise's defense was still so strong. Longao knew clearly that since Xiling had brought him here, he must have a way to break through the divine beast Black Tortoise's defense. Just as expected, Longao, with your strength alone, you will definitely not be able to break through the divine beast Black Tortoise's defense. However, Long Fu and I have already discussed this. Both of us will work together and transfer energy into your body. With the help of the firmament devouring skill and the incomplete sword principle, I hope you can break through the divine beast Black Tortoise's defense. In an instant, Longao felt the two energies entering his body. Without any hesitation, he immediately used the firmament devouring skill and the firmament sword principle. A huge black whirlpool appeared behind him and streaks of sword chi appeared. With the black whirlpool as the center, countless sword chi began to spin wildly. It looked extremely strange. The divine beast Black Tortoise snorted coldly. Even at this moment, the divine beast Black Tortoise still did not take Longao seriously. This was because the divine beast Black Tortoise was too confident in its own defense. Carelessness kills. Longao might not be able to break through the divine beast Black Tortoise's defense. Unfortunately, the divine beast Black Tortoise was too careless. Longao turned all his energy into a sword and slashed at the divine beast Black Tortoise. Crack. Just when the divine beast Black Tortoise was full of confidence that Longao would not be able to break through its defense, it did not expect that its defense would be broken through by a sword. Taking advantage of the situation, Longao certainly would not let go of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He did not give the divine beast Black Tortoise any chance at all. Using his finger as a sword, streaks of sword chi shot out rapidly. In just a few seconds, the divine beast Black Tortoise had fallen to the ground and was no longer breathing. Looking at the divine beast Black Tortoise that had fallen to the ground, Longao let out a long sigh of relief. If it wasn't for Xiling and Long Fu's help this time, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens for him to break through the divine beast Black Tortoise's defense. It was almost impossible. Xiling, what should I do now? Longao had no idea how to refine the divine beast Black Tortoise. He had to rely on Xiling and Long Fu because only the two of them could refine the Black Tortoise armor. Longao, to refine the Black Tortoise armor, we only need the divine beast Black Tortoise's shell and blood. As for the divine beast Black Tortoise's soul, you can do as you see fit. Longao was well aware of the divine beast Black Tortoise's strength. If he was not mistaken, the divine beast Black Tortoise that he had just killed should be in the Nirvana realm. It was only one step away from breaking through to the Nirvana rebirth realm. However, with the divine beast Black Tortoise's strength, even a Nirvana rebirth realm warrior might not be its opponent. The biggest reason was the divine beast Black Tortoise's defense. Long Fu, if you were to refine the divine beast Black Tortoise's soul, how confident are you? Master, it's very difficult. If I were to forcefully refine it, I would guess that it would take at least 3 years. Chapter 14:18. 3 years. It was neither too long nor too short. Longao, you don't have to worry about refining the Black Tortoise armor. Long Fu and I will take care of it. Thank you. Even if Longao wanted to take care of it, he was powerless. Not to mention refining the Black Tortoise armor, it was still unknown whether he could remove the shell from the divine beast Black Tortoise. If the bloodline and shell could be refined into the Black Tortoise armor, what about the remaining divine soul? After thinking about it, Longao could not think of the best way. It was a pain in the ass to refine the divine soul in 3 years. Longao, according to my guess, the divine beast Black Tortoise's divine soul should be less than 2/3 of its peak. Instead of waiting for 3 years to refine a soul slave, it is better to use it now. What do you mean? Your cultivation has broken through to the peak divine realm. As long as you devour 1/3 of the divine soul, and with our help, you should be able to break through to the supreme divine realm. Before Longao could speak, Xiling continued. Long Fu and I are going to devour the remaining divine soul. At this point, how could Longao not agree? Next, Long Fu immediately began refining the black tortoise armor. As for Longao, he used the celestial devouring skill to devour half of the divine soul. They sat on the ground. Longao had the sacred desolation body. Under normal circumstances, he would not encounter any bottlenecks. As long as he had enough power, it would be much easier for him to break through than others. After Longao devoured half of the divine soul, he immediately used the celestial devouring skill to refine the divine soul in his body. The biggest difference between the Supreme Divine Realm and the Supreme Divine Realm was the so-called Divine Realm. The Divine Realm and the Supreme Divine Realm were two different concepts of power and could not be compared. Once Longao's mysterious Black Divine Realm transformed into a Supreme Divine Realm, even an Emperor God would not be able to suppress Longao with the help of the Divine Realm. Time passed slowly. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. Right at this moment, Longao slowly opened his eyes and let out a long sigh of relief. His face was filled with excitement and surprise. After 3 days of hard work, the heavenly God domain in his body had finally transformed into a supreme God domain, although it was only a grade 1 supreme God domain. The transformation of the divine realm also meant that Longao had transformed. In other words, at this moment, Longao had successfully broken through from the heavenly God realm to the divine king realm. The supreme divine way was the same as the divine way realm in that there was no division of ranks. Longao's cultivation had already successfully broken through to the divine king realm. Next, he would continue to advance and advance to the so-called peak divine king realm. The supreme divine Tao had a total of 4 realms: the divine king realm, the divine emperor realm, the hierarch realm, and the divine emperor realm. He had broken through to the divine king realm and was one step closer to the nirvana realm. Longao, congratulations on successfully breaking through to the unparalleled realm. Longao smiled and asked, "How's the black tortoise armor?" His reincarnation body had successfully entered the weak space, but Longao was not too worried. The reason was simple. The reincarnation body was formed by Longao himself. Once the reincarnation body fell, the first person to know would be Longao. Moreover, it would cause an immeasurable loss to Longao. The reincarnation body was fine, which meant that the reincarnation body entered the weak space smoothly. Since his cultivation had successfully broken through to the divine king realm, Longao knew very well that as long as he had the black tortoise armor, even an ultimate god warrior would not be able to compete with him. As for whether an emperor god warrior could kill him, it was still unknown. That was exactly the case. Longao was full of expectations for the black tortoise armor. According to Xiling, the divine beast black tortoise's blood and shell were extremely hard. Ordinary people would not be able to successfully refine it. Fortunately, the dragon seal's power was not simple and could forcibly refine the black tortoise armor. Longao, the black tortoise armor is very difficult to refine. Even with the dragon seal's power, I'm guessing it would take at least a month to refine it. A month's time was just a blink of an eye for Longao. If that's the case, I'd better return to the Cliff of Beasts as soon as possible. I can sense the reincarnation body's aura. If nothing goes wrong, he should be back soon. Xiling certainly did not want anything to happen to his sister. He was overjoyed when he heard that the reincarnation body was about to return. Both of them were a little anxious. They immediately got up and prepared to return to the Cliff of Beasts. However, at that moment, suddenly, countless beastly roars could be heard from all directions, filling every inch of the cave. It was ear-piercing and corrosive. The endless beastly roars were not only ear-piercing but also unpleasant. Longao even felt that the beastly roars had directly invaded his mind and soul. If it was not for his quick reaction, he would have been killed by the roars. What a terrifying roar! The beastly roars were endless. Longao did not dare to be the slightest bit careless. He immediately used the destruction of heaven and earth. He was like a tornado, dispersing all the beastly roars around him. What a fearless boy! How dare you behave so atrociously in my Wansho sect? As soon as the voice fell, The beastly roars disappeared, and a middle-aged man in a five-colored beast robe appeared. His face was full of masculinity, and his burly body gave people a feeling of explosiveness. Longao's heart was instantly shocked because he could clearly sense that the tall and sturdy big man that suddenly appeared in front of him was a Nirvana realm martial artist. The aura of heaven and earth that was emitted from the tall and sturdy big man's body was not fake. Could it be that this person was the super strong person that killed the divine beast, the Black Tortoise? The Wansho sect, as one of the top 10 sects, needless to say, there were more than 10 Nirvana realm martial artists in the sect. Who are you? You broke into my forbidden area, and now you're asking me who I am? Boy, I have to admit that you're really brave. Do you know how useful the divine beast Black Tortoise that you killed 3 days ago was to me? Hearing this, Longao was a little puzzled. According to the burly man, 3 days ago when he fought with the divine beast Black Tortoise, this man was beside him. Since that was the case, why didn't the burly man appear 3 days ago? Why did he choose to appear now? As if he could guess what Longao was thinking, the burly man coldly snorted and said angrily, 3 days ago, if I hadn't been at the most critical moment of my cultivation, you would have been dead. Boy, you killed my divine beast Black Tortoise and broke into my forbidden area. Tell me, how should I punish you? Unless it was a last resort, Longao did not want to fight with a Nirvana realm martial artist. After all, the gap between their strengths was too big. There was no need to waste time here. Senior, I didn't mean to offend you. I also accidentally broke into your forbidden area. Since that's the case, I'll take my leave. Before Longao could turn around and leave, the burly man angrily threw a punch at him. Chapter 14:19. The power of the punch was as if heaven and earth were falling apart. Longao was also shocked. The full-strength punch of a Nirvana realm martial artist was no small matter. If he was hit, the consequences would be unimaginable. With the help of spatial teleportation, Longao's body instantly disappeared from the spot. The punch hit empty air. Subsequently, surprised voices rang out. The burly man did not seem to have thought that the other party, a little supreme divine Tao martial artist, could actually dodge his punch. Is this teleportation? Hearing the burly man's words, Longao was shocked to the extreme. Because ever since he comprehended spatial teleportation in the 9 Revolutions reincarnation technique, no one recognized it. Everyone thought that his spatial teleportation was a spatial divine tool. Only the burly man. At a glance, he recognized that his so-called spatial teleportation was not a spatial divine tool, but a real teleportation. Teleportation was an incomparably heaven-defying divine ability. Even a Nirvana realm martial artist, or even a heavenly Tao martial artist, could not do it. Whether it was a Nirvana realm martial artist or a heavenly Tao martial artist, at most, their speed was very fast and could even be compared to teleportation, but it was not a real teleportation. On this point, Longao was very clear in his heart and was very sure. You actually recognize spatial teleportation? Kid, who exactly are you? Longao. He seemed to be at a loss. The burly man did not seem to know Longao. If it was a few years ago, it would be fine if he did not know Longao, but at this moment, Longao's several actions made the entire Sky Martial continent know a name, and that was Longao, a rising dark horse. I don't know. Longao did not care, but asked, I want to know, how do you know spatial teleportation? Regarding this point, Longao really wanted to know. After so long, the burly man was the first person to recognize spatial teleportation. Who was the burly man? Before answering you, you have to answer a question of mine. Please ask, are you from the reincarnation clan? My grass. Hearing the burly man's question, Longao cursed in his heart. He had never thought that the burly man would even know about the reincarnation clan. Where did the burly man come from? Not only did he know about Longao's teleportation, he even knew about the reincarnation clan. No, Longao still didn't know about his background. Whether or not he came from the reincarnation clan, whether or not he had reincarnated 100 times, it was still too early to say. Brat, as long as you teach me this spatial teleportation, I will not pursue the matter of the divine beast Black Tortoise and you're trespassing into the forbidden area. How about it? He was not surprised at all. Longao was well aware of the allure of spatial teleportation. Not to mention the burly man. Anyone who had seen the power of spatial teleportation would be tempted to obtain it. Longao was very clear that if he didn't have the ability to teleport, he probably wouldn't have survived until now. Spatial teleportation was his greatest trump card. Even if I wanted to impart it to you, I'm afraid I can't. Why? Seemingly anxious, the burly man impatiently asked. Sneering inwardly, Longao didn't immediately answer. Instead, he asked, Senior, I really want to know your identity. If it wasn't for the spatial teleportation, the burly man definitely wouldn't have said it. However, because of the spatial teleportation, Longao was very confident. He was very clear that as long as he didn't teach the spatial teleportation, the burly man wouldn't attack him. Spatial teleportation was his greatest trump card. Myriad Beast's ancestor. Myriad Beast's ancestor? The burly man in front of him was actually the Myriad Beast's ancestor? Longao really hadn't thought of this. However, after thinking about it, he understood. In the Myriad Beast sect, other than the Myriad Beast's ancestor, who else could seal the divine beast Black Tortoise? It was passed down from generation to generation. 10,000 years ago, many peerless geniuses had appeared in the Tianwu continent. Among them were the Myriad Beast's ancestor, Long Tian, Jin Tian, Tong Zun, and others. Amongst them, the Myriad Beast's ancestor's talent and power were the greatest. Furthermore, he was known as the #1 expert beneath the heavenly Das. He swept through all the Nirvana realm experts. Unfortunately, 10,000 years ago, for some unknown reason, those extremely strong cultivators of the Celestial Qi dynasty all disappeared. Everyone was talking about how those people had already died. At that moment, Longao was finally certain that not only did the 10 super experts of the 10 directions not fall, but they were hiding in the dark to cultivate. As for the specific reason, as for what the reason was, it was unknown. Myriad Beast's ancestor, you really are the Myriad Beast's ancestor. Brat, cut the crap. What I just said is still valid. As long as you teach me the spatial teleportation, not only will you be able to leave this place safely, but I can also help you break through your current realm. How about it? Ordinary people wouldn't be able to resist this temptation. However, Longao smiled. Sorry, I already said that I can't teach you the spatial teleportation. That's because I don't know how I got it. How am I supposed to teach it to you? You're courting death. The Myriad Beast's ancestor's face instantly darkened. As the ancestor of the Myriad Beast sect, and also known as the #1 person under the Heavenly Tao, who dominated the Nirvana realm, when had anyone dared to treat him like this? It was simply intolerable. Before the Myriad Beast's ancestor could do anything, Longao already said, Myriad Beast's ancestor, there is no enmity between us. If the divine beast Xuanwu hadn't attacked me, I wouldn't have killed him. How about this? I definitely can't teach you the spatial teleportation. However, I have a treasure that I believe you'll definitely like. Just treat it as compensation for the divine beast Xuanwu. How about that? The Myriad Beast's ancestor said with interest, let me see it. Longao wanted the Myriad Beast's ancestor to be careless, because when the Myriad Beast's ancestor had just appeared, he had used some unknown power to interfere with the fluctuations of space in the cave. Even if he wanted to use the spatial teleportation to leave or enter the Dragon Seal space, it wasn't very possible. Just as expected, the Myriad Beast's ancestor was too confident because he didn't think that a kid who had just broken through to the Supreme Tao stage would be able to play any tricks in front of him. Because of this, the Myriad Beast's ancestor withdrew all of his aura and the entire cave returned to normal. The surrounding spatial fluctuations were no longer disturbed. Longao was delighted. At this point, he no longer had any scruples. No matter how powerful the other party was, as long as he wanted to, he could leave at any time. Myriad Beast's ancestor, I'm sorry. Actually, I don't have any treasure or divine tool. I was just fooling you. However, you probably don't know that my relationship with the Myriad Beast sect isn't very good. How could I give it to you? Moreover, you wanted to kill me. By the way, I'll give you a word of advice. Your clothes aren't very good. You look no different from a beast. I suggest you change. Chapter 14:20. Anger. Hearing Longao's words, the myriad beast's ancestor pounced on Longao like an enraged lion. And the result? As soon as he finished speaking, Longao's figure disappeared. That's right, he disappeared just like that. He disappeared right under the nose of the myriad beast's ancestor. Looking at the disappearing figure, the myriad beast's ancestor was dumbfounded. Is this real? The myriad beast's ancestor didn't know about Longao's situation, nor did he know that Longao had a spatial artifact. Otherwise, the myriad beast's ancestor wouldn't have been so careless and confident. Longao, I know you're still here. You won't escape. In the cave, there were roars all around, but Longao still didn't appear. As expected of the myriad beast's ancestor, even Tongzun, Jintian, and the others are no match for the myriad beast's ancestor. Longao had an intuition that the myriad beast's ancestor's strength had already reached the limit of nirvana rebirth. As long as he obtained the power of origin, he believed that in less than 3 months, he would be able to refine the power of origin and break through the so-called peak of martial arts. The myriad beast's ancestor, the ancestor of all beasts. The myriad beast's ancestor claimed to be able to control all divine beasts in the world. Although it was an exaggeration, it definitely wasn't groundless. Longao was wary of the myriad beast's ancestor's strength. If he hadn't entered the dragon seal space, it would have been difficult for him to escape. As for how to leave, that was the biggest problem. The myriad beast's ancestor was guarding the cave. Unless the myriad beast's ancestor left the cave, he couldn't leave the dragon seal space and the cave. Longao didn't know how Bai Ling and the 2 little guys were doing. He was very worried. How could he leave the cave smoothly? Longao and the myriad beast's ancestor were in a deadlock. Myriad beast's cliff. Shifeng and the other 2 were still looking for Longao's traces, but they still couldn't find any trace of Longao's aura. Could it be that Longao had already left the myriad beast's cliff? Father. He waved his hand. Shifeng of course knew what his son wanted to say, and before Shirpatian could say anything, Shifeng had already said, after this incident, I can almost say that Longao came to our Wanshou sect this time for the heaven and earth spiritual vein, so I can be sure that Longao will not leave the Wanshou sect casually. Even so, Shirpatian still found it hard to believe that Longao was still in the sect. Since his father was so certain, he couldn't say anything more. Second brother, you and Patian stay here. Remember, once Longao appears, you must not act rashly and alert him. Father, where are you going? I'm going to take a look at the heaven and earth spirit vein. I don't know why, but I have a feeling that the Longao won't let this matter rest. The heaven and earth spirit vein was the most precious treasure of the Wanshou sect. In the entire Wanshou sect, apart from the Wanshou ancestor and Shifeng, only Shifeng and Shirpatian were allowed to enter. No one else was allowed to enter without permission, or they would be killed on the spot. Big brother, are you sure that Longao is at the heaven and earth spirit vein? Shifeng was very unhappy. The reason was simple. He had always been alone, while Shifeng and Shirpatian had split up. In other words, whether Longao appeared at the Wanshou cliff or at the heaven and earth spirit vein, the 2 of them would definitely win. If he was lucky and Longao was at the Wanshou cliff, then everything would be fine. Taking a step back, if Longao wasn't at the Wanshou cliff, but at the heaven and earth spirit vein, would he still be able to obtain the Jianling? Shifeng was almost certain that if his big brother really obtained the Jianling, he wouldn't share it with him. After all, 2 people devouring the Jianling was easier than 3 people devouring the Jianling. How could Shifeng not know what his second brother was thinking? Shifeng sneered in his heart, but he wasn't a fool. He wouldn't fall out with his second brother at this time. He smiled and said, Second brother, you and I are brothers. I promise you now, if I can obtain the Jianling, I will definitely share 1/3 with you. Without waiting for Shifeng to speak, Shifeng continued, Once the 3 of us devour the Jianling and break through to the peak of the martial path, then in the Tianwu continent, who would be our opponent? Shifeng knew that he couldn't say anything more. Otherwise, they would definitely fall out. At that time, it wouldn't be good for anyone. Chong left the Wan Shou cliff and headed for the heaven and earth spirit vein. Feng and Feng continued to stay at the Wan Shou cliff, hoping that they could split up and find Longao, Tianwu continent. Since the battle with the Dragon Clan, the Long family had been searching everywhere for Longao, but they still couldn't find Longao. Within the Long family's main hall, Long Tian, Long Di Tian, and Long Hang were extremely depressed. Ever since the battle with the Dragon Clan, the Long family and the Dragon Clan had lost all face. They had suffered disastrous losses. The Long family and the Dragon Clan had become the laughingstocks of the entire continent. Everyone was talking about them. Ancestor, we've already mobilized all the disciples to search for Longao. Unfortunately, we haven't found him yet. However, we've found the whereabouts of the Dragon Sect. Send people to destroy the Dragon Sect. Long Tian was delighted to hear that. However, he still wanted to find Longao the most, not the Dragon Sect. After all, even if they destroyed the Dragon Sect, it would be useless. The Long family and the Dragon Clan would lose face. The one who would suffer disastrous losses would be Longao, not the Dragon Sect. However, since they couldn't find Longao, they could vent their anger by dealing with the Dragon Sect first. Ancestor, if we destroy the Dragon Sect, what if Longao doesn't appear and hides? What should we do? How could Long Tian not know about Di Tian and Long Hang's worries? He sneered and said, if it were anyone else, we wouldn't do this. We would leave the Dragon Sect to deal with Longao. Only Longao. I believe you already know his character. He can't hold back at all. If we destroy the Dragon Sect, Longao will definitely avenge the Dragon Sect. At that time, we'll catch a turtle in a jar and beat the dog. I want to see how Longao can escape. In Long Tian's opinion, the reason why Longao was able to leave so smoothly was because of his soul. If he didn't have his soul, would Longao still be able to leave? That was exactly the case. Long Tian was full of confidence. As long as Longao dared to enter the Dragon Clan or the Long family, then Longao would die without a doubt. Ancestor, then I'll personally lead people to the 9 provinces continent. Long Di Tian stood up with a resolute expression. As the head of the Long family, Longao had provoked him time and time again, causing him to lose face. If he didn't get revenge, how could he continue living in the martial heaven continent? Good. Di Tian, you and Long Hang will go together. Remember, no matter what happens, you have to destroy the Dragon Sect. After you destroy it, immediately bring everyone back. Don't stay in the 9 provinces continent. We'll catch a turtle in a jar. Chapter 1421. 9 provinces continent. Long Di Tian brought Long Hang and thousands of people to the Dragon Valley in a grandiose manner. The wind blew, and the clouds changed. Long family did not hide when they entered the 9 provinces continent. Instead, they did it openly, as if they were afraid that others would not know. Long family's intention was clear. They wanted everyone in the 9 provinces continent, and even the Tianwu continent, to know that the Long family had come to the 9 provinces continent. The reason was simple. Long family had lost all their face in the battle with the Dragon Clan. In order to regain their face, the Long family wanted to deal with the Dragon Sect as soon as possible, and even Longao. The 9 provinces continent was already considered the Dragon Sect's territory. Long family had entered the 9 provinces continent. Many people were angry but did not dare to say anything. After all, the Long family's strength was obvious. The location of the Dragon Valley was no longer a secret. Outside the Dragon Valley, Long Hang, attack with all your strength. Don't show any mercy. Now that things had come to this, it was impossible for the Long clan to show mercy. Long Hang nodded. Long Hang led thousands of people. Their eyes turned cold as they attacked with all their strength. The power of thousands of people working together could be imagined. Even an ordinary Nirvana realm warrior would find it difficult to resist. Rumble. A loud sound resounded through the world. Long family was filled with confidence. With thousands of people working together, destroying the Dragon Sect was as easy as flipping their hands. But the result? Long Di Tian, Long Hang, and the others were all dumbfounded when they saw that Long Gu had not suffered any damage at all. This was because none of them had expected that the combined attack of 1,000 people would not even be able to harm Longao. Was this for real? Patriarch. He waved his hand. Long Tion's face was also extremely gloomy. The result was beyond his expectations. He said in a cold voice, "It seems that Longao has already set up a formation here." Longao was a formation master. Everyone knew that. However, Long Tion never expected that Longao's formation Dao would be so powerful that it could withstand the combined attack of thousands of people. It was obvious how powerful the formation set up by Longao was. "Let me try." Long Tion's strength was there. Everyone took a step back. In the next second, Long Tion's figure suddenly moved. In just a few seconds, Long Tion had already attacked more than 10 times. Under normal circumstances, with Long Tion's strength, it would only take a few minutes for him to break through the Dragon Valley and destroy it. In the end, it gave everyone a huge shock. Even Long Tion was unable to break through the Dragon Valley's barrier. The array formation that Longao had set up was a little too powerful. No one could break it. Everyone's expressions darkened to the extreme upon hearing this. If that was the case, then wouldn't the Dragon Valley become an impenetrable fortress? Patriarch, why don't we report this to the old ancestor? Yes. Now that things had come to this point, even if Long Tion was extremely unwilling, he had to report this matter to the old ancestor. He hoped that the old ancestor would be able to break through the Dragon Valley Chi Shield. Within the valley, Long Haosher and Wang Yidao could clearly sense that the Long family was attacking the Dragon Valley with all their might. Although Ao had already said that the Dragon Valley was fine, the other party was still a Long family. It would be a lie to say that they were not worried. Brother Long, it seems that the sword realm that Ao set up this time is able to withstand the Long family's attack. Long Haosher nodded. Long Haosher also heaved a sigh of relief. No matter what, there were tens of thousands of people in the Dragon Valley. If anything happened, the consequences would be unimaginable. Fortunately, the sword realm that Ao had set up was able to withstand the Long family's attack. According to Ao, the sword realm that he set up this time can protect the Dragon Valley for 3 years. Even if Long Tion were to come personally, it would be able to withstand him easily. The news that the Long family was unable to break through the Dragon Valley's barrier spread throughout the entire 9 continents in the blink of an eye, and even the Tianwu continent. Everyone who received the news turned pale with fright. They all found it hard to believe. When did the Dragon Valley become so powerful? The next day, Long Tion and the primordial divine dragon had already rushed over after receiving the news. Previously, the man and dragon had been in seclusion. However, after thinking about the battle of the dragon race, Long Tion decided to report this matter to the old ancestor. In their fury, the man and dragon did not continue their seclusion because they had already decided to continue their seclusion after dealing with the Long Ao and Long Zong. In fact, the reason why the man and dragon had come out of seclusion was not only to deal with the Long Ao, but also because they had already begun to refine the source energy. In other words, under such circumstances, whether they were in seclusion or not was no longer important. This was something that the man and dragon had never thought of. Hearing that Long Tion and the others were unable to break through the Dragon Valley's barrier, Long Tion and the primordial divine dragon immediately rushed over. Until now, the man and dragon were still in disbelief. After all, this matter was too unbelievable. Long Tion and Long Hang's strength was there for all to see. How could they not be able to break through the Dragon Valley's barrier? Long Tion, who had just arrived at the Dragon Valley, immediately asked, Tion, what happened? Long Tion did not dare to hide anything and told him everything in detail. After hearing it, Long Tion nodded and said in surprise, just as you guessed, Long Ao should have set up a formation in the Dragon Valley. I just did not expect that Long Ao's attainments and formations would be so powerful. If they could not kill Long Ao after coming out of seclusion this time, where would their face go? Next, Long Tion and the primordial divine dragon began to attack the Dragon Valley together, wave after wave. The man and dragon were full of confidence that with their combined strength, breaking through the Dragon Valley's barrier would be a piece of cake. The result? Even with the combined strength of Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon, they were unable to break through the dragon clan's barrier. This time, everyone was completely stunned. It was as if no one had expected this result. The primordial divine dragon and Long Tian looked at each other and saw a trace of shock in each other's eyes. Even they did not expect the Dragon Valley's formation to be so powerful. Was this true? Old ancestor. Waving his hand, Long Tian said in a serious voice, "It seems that Longao is prepared. You guys wait here. I'll make a trip to the Wanjan School." Wanjan School, the ancestor of formations. The news that Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon hadn't been able to break through the Dragon Valley's barrier had spread throughout the 9 prefectures, including the Martial Heaven continent. Everyone was shocked. No one had expected that the Long family's experts, including the 2 ancestors, would still be unable to break through. Everyone had already guessed that Longao was definitely prepared. This time, the Long family had suffered a loss. It seemed that the grudge between the Long family and the Dragon sect had escalated, but the Dragon sect clearly had the upper hand. Chapter 1422. Long Tian personally went to Wanjan School, hoping that Wanjan School would help break the formation set up by Longao. In the end, the master of Wanjan School, Lin Junhong, directly refused, causing Long Tian to be confused. Under normal circumstances, Long Tian personally came out. Wanjan School should give him face, but the result was the opposite. What the hell happened? Long family attacked the Dragon sect, but were unable to break through the Dragon Valley Chi Shield, causing everyone to discuss it. Everyone was watching a joke, watching the Long family make a fool of themselves. Long family, one of the 10 forces, whether it was strength or foundation, they were all there. And the Dragon sect? Although the Dragon sect was the overlord of the 9 provinces in the Tianwu continent, it was only a third-rate force, not even a second-rate force. When the 2 sides fought, it was obvious who would win and who would lose. But the result? Long family was defeated time and time again, causing the status of the Dragon sect to become higher and higher, and the status of the Long family to become lower and lower. Myriad Beasts sect. In the mysterious cave. As time passed, the Myriad Beasts' ancestor's face became uglier and uglier, more and more gloomy. 3 days. The Myriad Beasts' ancestor waited for 3 whole days, but still did not see Longao appear. In the end, he chose to give up, because the Myriad Beasts' ancestor was very clear that Longao had most likely left the cave. Otherwise, the other party would not have escaped his detection. This time. He lost the divine beast Black Tortoise for no reason, and even let the other party escape. The Myriad Beasts' ancestor was like a volcano that was about to erupt at any time. It was precisely because of this that the Myriad Beasts' ancestor immediately left the cave and headed to the Myriad Beasts Hall to find the patriarch of the Myriad Beasts sect, Shirchong. 2 hours after the Myriad Beasts' ancestor left, Longao confirmed that the Myriad Beasts' ancestor had left, and then came out of the Dragon Seal space. It was scary but not dangerous. Longao did not continue to stay in the cave, because he did not know when the Myriad Beasts' ancestor would return. He took this opportunity to leave as soon as possible. Shirchong, Shifeng, and Shirpatian, who were searching for Longao with all their strength, were suddenly summoned by the ancestor. The 3 of them were shocked. They did not know what was going on. Why would the ancestor summon them for no reason? In the Wanshou sect, the old ancestor's position was definitely the highest. No one could compare to him. Even the sect leader, Shirchong, couldn't compare to him. A few minutes later, Shirchong, Shifeng, and Shirpatian were all gathered in the main hall. Looking at the old ancestor before them, they stood respectfully, not daring to utter a single word. "Do you know Longao?" "Ao?" The 3 of them did not know why the ancestor suddenly asked about Longao, but since things had already come to this point, the 3 of them would definitely tell the truth. Shirchong nodded and replied, "Yes." Before the Myriad Beasts' ancestor could speak, Shirchong had already begun to speak, telling him the grudge between Longao and the sect in full detail, including the killing intent of Jianling, who was at the peak of the martial path. Shirchong did not hide anything, because they did not know whether the ancestor already knew about Jianling. Taking a step back, if the ancestor really knew about Jianling, who was at the peak of the martial path, and the three of them hid it from the ancestor, would the three of them have a good time? After listening, the myriad beast's ancestor's gloomy face became even gloomier. Not to mention Longao, just the matter of Jianling, who was at the peak of the martial path, made the myriad beast's ancestor even more furious. He said coldly, "Why didn't you report to me about Jianling?" The myriad beast's ancestor was not a fool, of course. He knew what the three of them meant by doing this. Once the three of them devoured Jianling, it was equivalent to devouring the origin energy, and there was a 95% chance that they could reach the peak of the martial path. The peak of the martial path was a realm that every martial artist dreamed of reaching. The three of them did not dare to hide anything, because if they really lied, the myriad beast's ancestor might really take action. After thinking for a while, he said, "Just this once." "Thank you, ancestor." Hearing that the ancestor did not blame them, the three of them heaved a sigh of relief. Longao killed my divine beast Black Tortoise. The three of them jumped in fright. They knew very well what the divine beast Black Tortoise meant. The ancestor had sealed the divine beast Black Tortoise in order to refine it into the Black Tortoise armor. Unfortunately, after so many years, even the ancestor had not been able to refine the divine beast Black Tortoise. Longao was truly daring to touch the ancestor's divine beast Black Tortoise. At the same time, the three of them could not understand how Longao had managed to do this with his strength. After all, the ancestor's strength was there for all to see. He was the strongest person under the heavenly Tao. Since the ancestor did not say, the three of them did not dare to ask. According to what you just said, Longao came to our myriad beast sect mainly for the heaven-earth spirit vein. Nodding, Shichong said confidently, "Ancestor, according to my guess, Longao will not give up if he does not obtain the heaven-earth spirit vein. Therefore, I am certain that Longao has not left the sect and is hiding in the myriad beast's cliff. In that case, do not leak this matter. As long as we can find Longao and capture Jianling, the three of you can devour him." Overjoyed, the three of them said in unison, "Thank you, ancestor." Following this, the myriad beast's ancestor did not hesitate and immediately led the three of them to the myriad beast's cliff. Even at this point, Shichong and the others still believed that Longao had not left the myriad beast sect and was still hiding in the myriad beast cliff. Before the three of them arrived at the myriad beast cliff, Longao had successfully returned and entered the black spot from before. At the same time, he entered the dragon seal space. This way, even if the myriad beast's ancestor and the others came, they would not discover him. Until now, the reincarnation avatar had not successfully returned. He did not know how Bai Ling and the others were doing. The only thing Longao could be sure of was that the reincarnation avatar had not died. Otherwise, he would have sensed it, and it would be very harmful to his body. Wait. The only thing he could do now was to wait and hope that the reincarnation avatar could successfully bring Bai Ling and the two little ones out. Half an hour later, the myriad beast's ancestor and the others had arrived at the myriad beast's cliff and continued to seal it. No one was allowed to enter the myriad beast's cliff without permission. Those who violated the order would be killed without mercy. Almost everyone in the myriad beast sect knew that the reason why the sect had sealed the myriad beast's cliff was because of one person, a person who had provoked the sect. This person was none other than the biggest dark horse Longao, who had risen rapidly in just a few years. They had seen arrogant people, but they had never seen such an arrogant person. Longao had not only caused trouble for the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family, but now he had provoked the myriad beast sect. He had offended 3 super forces in one go. Who would dare to do such a thing? Not to mention an individual, even super forces like the 5-element sect and the sword sect would not dare to casually provoke 3 super forces at the same time. It was simply courting death. The myriad beast sect had tried to seal the news as much as possible. They did not want anyone to know about the peak martial artist Jianling. After all, it was better to be safe than sorry. If the matter of Jianling was known by others, the myriad beast sect would be in big trouble for the sake of the peak martial artist Jianling. But in the end, the news of Longao causing trouble in the myriad beast sect still spread. In just a day, everyone knew about it. This time, everyone was completely stunned. The Long family was attacking the Dragon Valley, but they were still unable to break through the Dragon Valley Chi barrier. Everyone thought that Longao was definitely in the Dragon Valley, but no one expected that not only was Longao not in the Dragon Valley, but he was also far away in the Myriad Beast sect. Furthermore, he was causing trouble in the Myriad Beast sect. Was Longao crazy? Provoking 3 super forces at the same time, and Longao was just one person. Wasn't it like an egg hitting a rock? When Long Tian and the others received the news, they were also dumbfounded. No one had thought that Longao would be in the Myriad Beast sect. After Long Tian and the primordial divine dragon discussed, they immediately left for the Myriad Beast sect. As for the Dragon Valley, they would leave it to Long Tian to continue attacking. They hoped that they would be able to smoothly kill Longao and destroy the Dragon Valley. Time passed bit by bit. Longao hid in the Dragon Seal space, waiting for his reincarnation doppelganger to come out. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. In the blink of an eye, 4 days had passed. The Myriad Beast's ancestor and the other 3 were getting impatient. However, for the sake of Jinling, the 4 of them would definitely not choose to give up. This kind of opportunity did not come every day. Once they devoured Jinling, the Myriad Beast sect would not only have 4 peak martial artists, but even if 1 peak martial artist appeared, the Myriad Beast sect status would immediately rise. Ancestor, Long Tian is here. What I'm afraid of really comes. The Myriad Beast's ancestor was very depressed. He did not know who had spread the news, but since Long Tian was here, he had to go out and meet him. Otherwise, it would arouse Long Tian's curiosity. The Myriad Beast's ancestor was almost certain that Long Tian did not know about Jinling. This time, Long Tian was here mainly to kill Longao. Therefore, no matter what happened, he would not hand over Longao. The Myriad Beast's Great Hall. May I know why Brother Long has come to our Myriad Beasts sect? The Myriad Beast's ancestor had already entered the Great Hall. Although he was smiling, he was sneering in his heart. Brother Sure, you and I have known each other for so many years. I will not hide it from you. This time, I came to the Myriad Beast sect mainly for Longao. I believe Brother Sure already knows about the grudge between Longao and my Long family. Therefore, I hope Brother Sure can hand Longao over to my Long family. As expected, the Myriad Beast's ancestor was calm and indifferent. However, he was a little angry as he said, Longao not only provoked my Myriad Beast sect, but also killed my divine beast Black Tortoise. However, this boy has disappeared for half a month with the help of his spatial artifact. I'm also looking for him. The Myriad Beast's ancestor did not continue speaking. However, the meaning of his words was very clear. Brother Sure, you mean to say that Longao has left the Myriad Beast sect? P.S. Just now, someone asked why Longao and the primordial divine dragon came out when they were in closed-door cultivation. Little Nine has already explained in the chapter. Firstly, it is to deal with Longao. Secondly, the man and the dragon have begun to refine the origin energy. It is no longer important whether they are in closed-door cultivation or not. Chapter 1423. I'm not sure. The Wan Shou sect didn't lie about that. Because even the Wan Shou sect ancestor didn't know if Longao was still in the sect. The Wan Shou sect ancestor certainly hoped that Longao was still there. Long Tian had already started to refine the origin energy. No matter when, the refining speed in his body wouldn't slow down. Otherwise, Long Tian wouldn't have come out of seclusion so casually. If the Myriad Beast's ancestor knew that Long Tian had successfully devoured the origin energy, it was unknown if the Myriad Beast's ancestor would still be sitting there calmly. Brother Long, you can stay if you want. Forget it. Longao should have left. Longao wasn't a fool. Long Tian knew that since Longao had already disappeared and offended the Wan Shou sect, he wouldn't stay and wait for death. In that case, I won't see you off. Long Tian got up and left. The Wan Shou sect ancestor sneered as he watched Long Tian disappear. Long Tian, who had just left the Wan Shou sect and was about to continue searching for Longao, suddenly heard a voice in his mind. His expression changed slightly. Long Tian didn't dare to be careless. He immediately got up and flew toward the boundless void. Soon, he became a black dot and gradually disappeared. At the same time, in a secret chamber of the Martial Artists Alliance. Since leaving the primordial battlefield, Tong Zun had started to refine the origin energy in seclusion. After a period of hard work, Tong Zun had also started to refine it successfully. In other words, whether it was Tong Zun or Long Tian, as long as they had enough time, it didn't matter whether they were in seclusion or not. This was because they would definitely finish refining it and reach the peak of martial arts. These were troubled times. Tong Zun had already started to refine the origin energy. There was no need for him to continue his seclusion as it would attract other people's attention. Because of this, Tong Zun came out of seclusion and was ready to deal with Longao to save face for the Martial Artists Alliance. At this moment, a voice also sounded in Tong Zun's mind. His expression changed slightly, and he also flew toward the boundless void. Outer Sea. At the bottom of the sea, inside the Crystal Palace, Tong Zun and Long Tian arrived outside the Crystal Palace at the same time. When they saw each other, their faces were filled with surprise. They asked in unison, "Why are you here, Master Clairvoyant?" The two of them nodded. They were both a bit helpless and a bit surprised. The two of them knew that the martial heaven continent's strongest person wasn't the heavenly Das, but the God Diviner. Not only was the exalted Master God Diviner exceedingly powerful, but he also had the Tao of divination, which allowed him to predict everything in the world. Could it be that Master God Diviner had already divined that the two of them would devour the essence energy? The two of them looked at each other and understood each other's intentions. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't worried. The two of them were well aware that if Master God Diviner found out about this matter, it would be hard to say whether the outcome would be good or bad. Let's go. If it's a blessing, we can't stop it. If it's a disaster, we can't avoid it. Helplessly shrugging, Long Tian stepped into the Crystal Palace gloomily. In the Crystal Palace, Master Clairvoyant. Both Tong Zun and Long Tian bowed respectfully when they saw Master Clairvoyant in front of them. Before successfully devouring the essence energy and breaking through to the peak of the martial path, the two of them were well aware that they were nothing more than farts in front of Master God Diviner. As long as Master God Diviner wanted to, he could exterminate them at any time. Sit. Not daring to be the slightest bit careless, the two of them respectfully sat down. Even now, the two of them still didn't know why Master God Diviner had called them here. The two of them only hoped that Master God Diviner didn't know about them devouring the essence energy. If my guess is correct, you should have already begun to refine the essence energy. Based on this speed, it will take at most 3 years for you to finish refining it and condense the taboo energy to break through to the peak of the martial path. Hearing this, the two of them were startled. As expected, it seemed that Master God Diviner already knew about them devouring the essence energy. The two of them were extremely excited that they would be able to complete the refinement in 3 years. However, in this situation, after a brief moment of excitement, they were even more worried. If Master God Diviner decided to attack them, they wouldn't have the slightest chance. Not to mention them, even the heavenly Tao wouldn't dare to provoke Master God Diviner. After all, Master God Diviner's strength was there for all to see. Master God Diviner seemed to be able to guess their worries. He smiled and said bluntly, "The matter of the ancient battlefield was arranged by me. Do the two of you really think that you can obtain the essence energy with just the two of you?" What did he mean? Master God Diviner, we don't understand what you mean. It's very simple. I want the two of you to refine the essence energy and break through to the peak of the martial path within 3 years. If either of you can't do it, you will disappear from this world after 3 years. Tong Zun and Long Tian were no fools. Of course, they knew what Master God Diviner meant. The two of them looked at each other, not knowing whether this was a good thing or a bad thing. Master God Diviner, we will do our best to refine the essence energy. Within 3 years, we will definitely break through to the peak of the martial path. Although they didn't know what Master God Diviner meant, the two of them knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for them. Master God Diviner had just said that the two of them would definitely be able to refine the essence energy within 3 years. The two of them trusted Master God Diviner's words. Master God Diviner, if the heavenly Das learn of this, our situation will be very dangerous. At this point, Tong Zun and Long Tian didn't continue, but the meaning of their words was clear. Everyone on the martial heaven continent knew this. Over countless years, many nirvana experts had appeared on the martial heaven continent, but without exception, not a single one of them had been able to break through to the peak of the martial path. The biggest reason was that the heavenly Taoists controlled all the essence energy. No matter who it was, they couldn't obtain it. In other words, no matter who it was, as long as they obtained the essence energy, there would only be one result. They would be killed by the heavenly Taoists. With the power of the heavenly Taoists, who could fight them? Don't worry about that. As long as you don't say it yourself, even the heavenly Taoists won't be able to sense the essence energy within you. Master God Diviner suddenly unleashed a burst of energy that enveloped the two of them. The two of them didn't dare to resist. Furthermore, they knew that Master God Diviner was doing this to help them conceal their essence energy. If that was the case, then even if the heavenly Taoists personally came, they wouldn't be able to sense their essence energy. That would allow them to relax. Chapter 1424. The matter between the Myriad Beasts sect and Dragon Valley was still the most important matter in the 9 provinces continent. Provoking the Myriad Beasts sect and causing a ruckus, Longao's madness had reached a new level. As for Dragon Valley, even now, Long family was unable to break the barrier. Everyone knew that even Long Tian was unable to break through the Dragon Valley Chi barrier. Was there anyone on the martial heaven continent who could do that? Longao and Dragon Valley had won this battle. Within the Myriad Beasts sect, the Myriad Beasts ancestor and the others were still unwilling to give up. They still believed that Longao would continue to stay in the Myriad Beasts cliff. At the same time, the 4 of them were extremely shocked that Longao's spatial item could instantly disappear. Shirchong, you've already sealed the spirit vein? The 4 of them already knew that Longao had come for the spirit vein. It seemed that Longao wouldn't give up until he obtained the spirit vein. Ancestor, don't worry. I've already sealed the spirit vein. As long as Longao dares to go, we'll definitely catch him. Shirchong was extremely confident. Longao's spatial item is no small matter. We have to be careful. We can't let Longao leave. The spatial divine artifact in Longao's hands, even the Myriad Beasts ancestor was extremely fearful. Shirchong's expression was very gloomy. Thinking about it. In the end, Shirchong still said, Old ancestor, if this goes on, it's not a solution. Even if we can find Longao every time, Longao can use the spatial divine tool in his hands to successfully escape every time. Shifeng also followed and said, Big brother is right. Old ancestor, the reason why Longao has not left the sect is because he relies on the spatial artifact in his hands and is unscrupulous. If this continues, I am worried about the heaven and earth spiritual vein. How could the Myriad Beasts ancestor not understand what Shirchong and Shifeng meant? If we want to stop Longao from using his spatial item, there's only one way. That's to interfere with the spatial fluctuations. Ancestor, what should we do? The Myriad Beasts ancestor then told the 2 of them the method. In the Dragon Seal space, Longao, who had been waiting for 5 days, knew that nothing had happened to his samsara doppelganger, but he was very anxious. According to Xiling, the weak space was extremely dangerous. Even a Nirvana Realm warrior would be killed by the forbidden power in the weak space, let alone an ordinary person. One could only imagine how terrifying the weak space was. Right at this moment, Longao was overjoyed because he had sensed the call of his reincarnation avatar. Xiling, come out. Upon hearing this, Xiling was overjoyed. Not daring to be careless, Xiling and Long Fu joined forces and forcefully tore open the space crack. In an instant, the reincarnation doppelganger brought by Ling and the 2 little guys out of the thin space. Whoosh whoosh. Big brother, let's go. Something unexpected had happened. Purple Spirit had said before that if one were to forcefully enter a weak space, there was a high possibility that forbidden powers would be released. As expected, as a power unique to powerful cultivators who had reached the pinnacle of the martial way, who would dare to resist against forbidden powers? Longao had already seen the power of the forbidden power. It was unstoppable. Shocked, Longao sent Bai Ling and the two little guys into the dragon seal space as fast as he could. Unfortunately, he was still too slow. In any case, the speed of the forbidden power would definitely exceed the speed of his entry into the dragon seal space. Fortunately, the crack had only appeared for a short time. Otherwise, Longao would have been swallowed by the forbidden power, and the consequences would have been unimaginable. Even so, Longao was still hit by the forbidden power. His body flew out like a kite with a broken string. The four people who were looking for Longao suddenly saw a figure shoot out of the black hole. The four of them were shocked and hurriedly retreated. The moment they saw it, the four of them were excited to the extreme. It was really like wearing out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it without any effort. Longao really hadn't left the sect and was hiding in the Myriad Beasts cliff. The four of them didn't know what had happened. Why would Longao fly out for no reason? It was obvious that he was injured. Could it be that there was something strange in the black hole? Under such circumstances, the four of them couldn't care about anything else. As long as they could kill Longao and obtain the Jianling, everything else was ignored. Before dealing with Longao, the first thing the four of them did at the same time was to interfere with the spatial fluctuations. After suffering several losses in a row, the four of them naturally wouldn't be stupid enough to continue suffering. Don't kill him. Without seeing the Jianling, the Myriad Beast's ancestor naturally wouldn't easily kill Longao. After all, his main target was no longer Longao, but the so-called Jianling. Jianling at the peak of martial arts. Such a temptation was something that even the Myriad Beast's ancestor couldn't resist. Shi Chong, Shi Feng, and Shi Patian nodded. The three of them all shot towards Longao. Before they arrived, the three of them had already fiercely suppressed the heaven and earth aura. The three of them were very confident that Longao, who didn't have a spatial artifact, was worthless in front of them. After being hit by the forbidden power, Longao was still a little dizzy. Before Longao could recover, he was already suppressed by the heaven and earth aura of the three of them. If it was the forbidden power, Longao would be dead for sure. Only the heaven and earth aura. Longao wasn't afraid at all because he had already condensed his own heaven and earth aura. Longao also released his heaven and earth aura. 1 against 3, he was still instantly suppressed. If this continued, there was only one result, and that was death. Unable to sense the aura of the dragon seal space, Longao wasn't surprised at all. After the previous incidents, the Myriad Beast's ancestor would definitely be prepared. As expected, the Myriad Beast's ancestor interfered with the spatial fluctuations, making it difficult for him to enter the dragon seal space. Big trouble. Cursing in his heart, Longao stood up and coldly looked at the four people in front of him. He suddenly said, "Myriad Beast's ancestor, you just want the Jianling. If I die, I can guarantee that you won't be able to get the Jianling. Do you believe me?" The three people who were about to continue attacking stopped abruptly. The Myriad Beast's ancestor smiled and said, "Longao, I can give you a chance. As long as you hand over the Jianling, our previous grievances will be written off. In the future, my Myriad Beast sect will fully support your dragon sect. How about it?" In front of the Jianling, everything was just fleeting clouds. Sneering, Longao said, "Myriad Beast's ancestor, if you want the Jianling, there's no problem. But you have to agree to one of my conditions. Otherwise, even if I have to die together with you, I won't hand over the Jianling. I'm a man of my word. Speak." The Myriad Beast's ancestor wasn't a fool. Of course, he wasn't stupid enough to agree immediately. If Longao's conditions couldn't be agreed to, would the Myriad Beast sect have to agree? This was something that was completely impossible. It was also because of this that the four of them really wanted to know what kind of conditions Longao would propose. Chapter 1425. My condition is very simple. Longao smiled. His smile was a little strange and sinister. Thousand Beasts Ancestor, as long as you kill the 3 people beside you, the Jianling will be yours. Before the 4 could speak, Longao continued, I believe you know better than me what it means to have the Jianling at the peak of martial arts. If you miss this opportunity, you won't have the chance to break through to the peak of martial arts in the future. Hearing this, Shi Chong, Shi Feng, and Shi Patian were furious. The 3 of them knew very well that it was unknown whether the ancestor would really take action for the Jianling. Taking a step back, if the ancestor really took action, how would they deal with it? The Jianling at the peak of martial arts was an irresistible temptation. Ancestor, waving his hand. The Thousand Beasts Ancestor sneered and said, Longao, do you think I'll agree to it? Of course you will. Looking at the confident Longao, the Thousand Beasts Ancestor laughed and said, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I won't agree to it. Longao wasn't surprised at all because he had already guessed that the Thousand Beasts Ancestor wouldn't agree to it. If the Thousand Beasts Ancestor was 100% sure to get the Jianling, he might kill the 3 of them in order to devour the Jianling. But now, the Thousand Beasts Ancestor clearly knew that he hadn't gotten the Jianling yet. If he rashly killed the 3 of them and still couldn't get the Jianling in the end, what should he do? Hearing the Ancestor's decision, the 3 of them finally breathed a sigh of relief. Longao, let me give you a piece of advice. It's best if you hand over the sword spirit. Or your sister. You dare to insult the ancestor? He snorted coldly. Ignoring the 3 of them, Longao sneered and said, Shi Chong, you must remember that he's your ancestor, not mine. A bunch of shameless things. The Myriad Beasts Ancestor stopped Shi Chong from continuing. He smiled and said, Longao, you can no longer use your spatial artifact. Do you think you can still leave? The Myriad Beasts Ancestor was full of confidence. The 4 of them had already interfered with the spatial fluctuations. Without the help of the spatial artifact, could Longao still leave? Longao's heart was heavy. Unable to enter the Dragon Seal space, this matter was indeed very troublesome. However, Longao's face was calm as he said indifferently, Myriad Beasts Ancestor, why don't we make a bet and see if I can successfully leave this place? Bet? Another bet? Hearing the word bet, Shi Feng's expression became increasingly gloomy. This was because he had already suffered 2 losses. To be honest, Shi Feng was truly afraid now. The more Longao acted like this, the more uncertain the Myriad Beasts Ancestor felt. Longao, no matter what you do, you're dead. Looking left and right, the Myriad Beasts Ancestor ordered coldly, attack. Shi Chong and the other 2 nodded their heads. At the same time, all 3 of them shot out. As Nirvana State martial artists, their strength was needless to say. If they were to clash head-on, Longao would definitely lose. Unable to enter the Dragon Seal space, and unable to clash head-on, what should he do? Squeak, squeak, squeak? Just then, the squeaking sounds rang out continuously. Hearing these sounds, Longao's heart leaped with joy. With a whoosh, the little rat appeared. As the weapon spirit of the blood pool, Longao did not know just how strong the little rat was. However, he was certain of one thing. The strength of the blood pool's weapon spirit was definitely not to be underestimated. Whether or not the little rat could withstand the attacks of 3 Nirvana State martial artists was still an unknown. But now that things had come to this, Longao could not be bothered about anything else. In fact, Longao also had his own selfish motives. Even if the 3 of them killed the little rat, he would not have the slightest opinion. No matter what, the little rat was the weapon spirit of the blood pool. Once the weapon spirit grew up and merged with the blood pool, the consequences would be unimaginable. The little rat's speed was extremely fast. It was impossible to see its figure clearly. However, the 3 of them did not put Longao and the little rat in their eyes. The 3 of them joined forces and attacked fiercely. The 3 of them did not attack Longao. Instead, they attacked the little rat. Everyone thought that the little rat would vanish under this attack. But what was the result? The 3 of them felt that their full strength attack was like attacking an iron plate. Not only that, but the 3 of them were even forced back. Looking at the little rat in front of Longao, not only the 3 of them, But even the myriad beasts' ancestors' expression changed. What kind of divine beast was this? The four of them could sense that the little rat in front of Longao was not a nirvana state divine beast. It was just a divine beast that had just broken through to the supreme Tao realm. In that case, the little rat's physical defense was a little too abnormal. When the three of them joined forces, not to mention a divine beast, even a nirvana state divine beast could not contend against them. Even the divine beast Black Tortoise could not achieve such a defensive power. If they did not see it with their own eyes, they would find it hard to believe. Seeing that the little mouse was actually able to withstand the combined attack of the three people, Longao was pleasantly surprised. The little rat could be considered to have saved his life. However, Longao was very worried. The reason was simple. The stronger the little rat was, the greater the trouble it would face in the future. After all, the danger of the blood pool and the weapon spirit was right there. The myriad beast's ancestor was also shocked. With a stride, his figure had already dashed out. Before he arrived, his terrifying aura had already pressed down fiercely. As the number one under the heavenly Tao, the myriad beast's ancestor's strength was obvious. Even Tong Zun and the others were no match for him. The little rat dashed out again and collided with the myriad beast's ancestor fiercely. The difference in strength between the little rat and the myriad beast's ancestor was huge. The little rat was directly sent flying in a head-on collision. Overjoyed, the myriad beast's ancestor did not hesitate and continued to attack. Longao was well aware of his own strength. Of course, he would not seek his own death. Step by step, he retreated. Without the help of the spatial teleportation, Longao's speed had obviously slowed down. The myriad beast's ancestor obviously had the intention to kill. He attacked with all his might. If Longao was hit by this punch, he would be half-crippled even if he did not die. At the critical moment, a bird cry was heard. At the same time, there was a strong fluctuation in the space in front of Longao. The myriad beast's ancestor sensed the fluctuation and seemed to know who had come. He stopped and looked coldly at Longao in front of him. He said, "Brother Liu, it is the honor of the myriad beasts sect to have you here." A gentle and elegant middle-aged man appeared. It was none other than the patriarch of the Phoenix clan, Liu Yi. Due to his great strength, Liu Yi could transform into a human. There were even rumors that Liu Ye's strength had surpassed the Phoenix ancestor. Otherwise, the myriad beast's ancestor would not be so polite. Everyone knew that the Phoenix ancestor had passed on all his strength to Liu Yi through the enlightenment. That was why Liu Yi had the strength he had today. Chapter 1426. The Three Supreme Races of Spirit Beasts. The Phoenix Clan, the Qilin Clan, and the Dragon Clan. The immemorial Qilin and the immemorial Divine Dragon were still around. Only the immemorial Phoenix had fallen and passed all its power to Liu Yi. In other words, Liu Ye's status and strength were comparable to the Thousand Beasts' old ancestor, Tong Zun, Jin Tian, and the others. It was because of this. Looking at Liu Yi, who suddenly appeared in front of them, the Thousand Beasts' old ancestor and the others had ugly expressions. No one knew why Liu Yi would appear out of nowhere. Could it be that Liu Yi was here for Longao? "Brother Sure, long time no see. How have you been?" "Brother Liu, let's cut the pleasantries. You and I are both smart people. Why have you come to my Thousand Beasts sect this time? Please tell me directly. Straight to the point." The Thousand Beasts' old ancestor was a straightforward person. Liu Yi admired his character. Nodding, Liu Yi glanced at Longao behind him and said with a smile, "Brother Sure, since that's the case, I'll get straight to the point. Longao and I are fated. I hope Brother Sure can give me face and let Longao go this time. How about it?" As expected. But what the Thousand Beasts' old ancestor could not figure out was the connection between Liu Yi and Longao. After all, one was the patriarch of the Phoenix clan, and the other was only the master of the Dragon sect. The difference in status between the two was like heaven and earth. With Liu Ye's status, since she had already spoken, even the Thousand Beasts' old ancestor had to give face. If it was any other matter, even if it was because of the divine beast Black Tortoise. Since Lu Yi had spoken, he believed that the Thousand Beasts' old ancestor would not continue to make things difficult for Longao, at least for now. But in the current situation, the Thousand Beasts' old ancestor would definitely not agree to Lu Ye's request. The reason was simple. The Thousand Beasts' old ancestor definitely did not care whether Longao lived or died. There was only one thing that the myriad beasts' ancestor cared about, and that was the so-called sword spirit that had reached the peak of the martial way. This was because the myriad beasts' ancestor knew very well that if he missed this opportunity, he would not have another chance to devour the origin energy in the future. In the Sky Martial continent, the origin energy had been controlled by the heavens, and no one could touch it. Thinking of this, Brother Lu, Longao killed my divine beast, the Black Tortoise. This debt cannot be forgiven. Brother Lu, please do not interfere in this matter. Lu Yi seemed to be a little surprised, because he did not expect that the myriad beast's ancestor would not give him face at this point. This matter was a little tricky. Looking at Lu Yi, who was so close to him, Longao was also a little surprised. Of course, he knew Lu Ye's identity. Lu Yi, the patriarch of the Phoenix clan, was one of the most powerful experts in the world. Not only that, Lu Yi was also Aoshua's grandfather. With his relationship with Aoshua, under normal circumstances, Lu Yi should be dealing with him. Why would he help him? Brother Sure, give me some face. No. As their attitudes cooled down, the atmosphere began to escalate. Both of them were the most terrifying experts in the world. Once they started fighting, the consequences would be unimaginable. The three people behind the myriad beast's ancestor looked at each other and saw helplessness and fear in each other's eyes when they saw that a battle was about to break out. If Lu Yi insisted on protecting Longao, then this battle would be unavoidable. Brother Sure, if that's the case, you and I will fight. If I lose, I will immediately turn around and leave. If you lose, let me take Longao away. How about it? Okay. This battle was already destined. Brother Sure, you and I just have different standpoints. There's no need to fight to the death. What do you think? Nodding, the myriad beast's ancestor did not say anything, but he agreed with Lu Yi. If it were other Nirvana realm martial artists, even if it were Jin Tian, Long Tian, or Tong Zun, he would not have the slightest fear. Among the divine beasts, even the immemorial Qilin, immemorial Phoenix, and immemorial divine dragon were not in his eyes. The myriad beast's ancestor was known as the strongest person under Tian Dao. In the Tianwu continent, other than the oracle and Tian Dao, the myriad beast's ancestor was only afraid of one person, and that was the patriarch of the Phoenix clan, the middle-aged man who suddenly appeared in front of him, Lu Yi. Perhaps the myriad beast's ancestor did not care about Lu Ye's strength. But 10,000 years ago, the immemorial Phoenix had borrowed the strength of the entire Phoenix clan and used the power of heaven and earth, including the taboo power, to forcibly raise Lu Ye's strength. After 10,000 years of accumulation, no one knew what level Lu Ye's strength had reached. Others might not know, but the myriad beast's ancestor knew very well that the current Lu Yi was probably the strongest person under Tian Dao. Whether it was Lu Yi or the myriad beast's ancestor, once the two of them devoured the origin energy, it would take at most 3 months, or even a month, for the two of them to break through to the peak of the martial path. No one continued to speak, because this battle was not only about who could take Longao away, it also meant that this battle would determine who the strongest person under Tian Dao was. The two of them did not move, but Longao, Shichong, and the other three knew that this battle had already begun. A battle of primordial spirits. When one's cultivation broke through the supreme divine path and reached the so-called nirvana realm, the spiritual soul would transform into a primordial spirit. In other words, as long as the primordial spirit of a nirvana martial artist was not destroyed, it would not be destroyed, because the primordial spirit was different from the spiritual soul. The success rate of the primordial spirit entering the path of reincarnation was much higher than that of the spiritual soul entering the path of reincarnation. It was needless to say how important the primordial spirit was to a nirvana martial artist. Because of this, under normal circumstances, a battle between nirvana martial artists would not be a battle of primordial spirits. If the primordial spirit was damaged, The consequences would be unimaginable. But the four of them had never thought that the battle between the myriad beasts' ancestor and Lu Yi would be a battle of primordial spirits. The four of them did not dare to say a word, and all of them stared at the two people in front of them. A battle of primordial spirits was rare to see in 100 years, especially a battle between the strongest martial artists under Tian Dao. It was even rarer to see in 1,000 years. As the time of the collision between the primordial spirits grew longer and longer, both of their bodies began to tremble slightly, and beads of sweat the size of beans fell from their foreheads. The battle of primordial spirits had reached a climax, and the outcome could be decided at any time. In Longao's heart, of course, he hoped that Lu Yi would win. Although he still did not know why Lu Yi wanted to help him, he could be sure of one thing, and that was once Lu Yi won, he would be temporarily safe. Otherwise, if Lu Yi lost, wouldn't the myriad beasts' ancestor deal with him? A battle of primordial spirits. Both of them used all their strength, because both of them knew that they could not lose this battle. Time passed bit by bit, and in the blink of an eye, 3 minutes had passed. The aura dispersed, and Longao and the other three immediately retreated. Their faces changed greatly. It was indeed the battle of the strongest under Tian Dao. Just the aura alone was not something that ordinary people could contend with. If it was an ordinary martial artist, they would have been obliterated by the aura. Chapter 1427. Boom. There was a loud noise. The Thousand Beasts ancestor and Lu Yi each took 3 steps back. From an outsider's point of view, the battle was a draw. Looking at Lu Yi in front of him, the Thousand Beasts ancestor's expression changed again and again. You can take Longao away, but I won't let this matter rest. Ancestor. Hearing that the ancestor wanted Lu Yi to take Longao away, Shichong and the other two were completely anxious. If Longao was alone, then so be it. But if Longao was taken away, what about Jianling? Could it be that the ancestor had given up on Jianling? The three of them knew very well that it was impossible. No matter what, they believed that the ancestor would not choose to give up on Jianling. After all, devouring Jianling would allow one to break through to the peak of martial arts. In that case, why would the ancestor give up on Longao and Jianling? After thinking about it, the three of them seemed to have thought of a result, which was that the ancestor was very likely to lose this battle. Waving his hand, the Thousand Beasts ancestor's face was very gloomy, and he said coldly, "Let's go." Even if the three of them were unwilling to give up, they could only helplessly follow the ancestor and leave the Thousand Beasts cliff. In a short while, the four of them had disappeared without a trace. Lu Ye's body was a little shaky, and her face was a little pale. "Senior, are you okay?" Longao could almost be sure that Lu Yi had won this battle and the Thousand Beasts ancestor had lost. As expected, Lu Yi was a little helpless and said emotionally, "The strength of the Thousand Beasts ancestor is indeed extraordinary. If it wasn't for the enlightenment back then, it would have been difficult for me to defeat him." Hearing this, Longao was already sure that Lu Yi had won this battle. However, looking at the situation, even if Lu Yi won, it was a narrow victory. "Longao, you're very good." Until now, Longao was still a little confused. Lu Yi was the patriarch of the Phoenix clan and Aoshua's grandfather. According to the situation between them, the Phoenix clan and himself should be in an opposing relationship. But now, not only did Lu Yi not deal with him, but she also helped him. Longao knew very well that without Lu Ye's help this time, it would have been difficult for him to leave the Thousand Beasts sect. In any case, he had to thank Lu Yi. "Thank you, senior." Lu Yi smiled and said, "Longao, come with me?" Nodded. Since Lu Yi had helped him, Longao knew that Lu Yi would definitely not attack him. Without any hesitation, Longao left with Lu Yi. In the battle at the Wanshou sect, Longao, who was originally in a perilous situation, managed to escape successfully due to Lu Ye's appearance. Was Lu Yi of the beasts of the beasts of the was of the news of the beasts of the beasts of the beasts of view of the myriad beasts ancestor, had lost to Lu Yi. Regardless of whether it was for the sake of face or something else, the myriad beasts ancestor would not reveal this matter. In the main hall, Old ancestor, now that Longao has been taken away by Lu Yi, will he hand over the Jinling? The three of them looked very serious because if Longao really handed over the Jinling to Lu Yi, they would have no chance at all. They were very unwilling to miss the opportunity. So what if they were unwilling? Even the old ancestor was not a match for Lu Yi. The three of them found it hard to imagine that the Phoenix clan was the strongest in the world. Until now, the three of them did not dare to believe that the old ancestor, who was known as the strongest person under the heavenly Tao, had actually lost to Lu Yi. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed it even if they were beaten to death. Enlightenment is a secret technique of the Phoenix clan. Otherwise, Lu Ye's strength alone would not be enough to fight against me. How could the three of them not know what the old ancestor was talking about? Back then, the matter of Lu Yi being enlightened by the immemorial Phoenix was known by everyone in the Tianwu continent. The Phoenix clan, which had begun to decline, suddenly began to counterattack. They directly became the three supreme clans of the spiritual beasts, along with the Qilin clan and the Dragon clan. But even so, it was believed that no one would have thought that Lu Ye's strength would be so strong that she could actually defeat Lu Yi. If this matter were to spread, it would definitely shake the world. Old ancestor, what should we do now? Longao will definitely not hand over the Jianling. The three of you will personally go. No matter what, you have to find Longao for me. Remember, do not act rashly. Wait for me to act. Yes, old ancestor. Hearing the old ancestor's decision, the three of them finally heaved a sigh of relief. They were really afraid that the old ancestor would choose to give up. If that was really the case, it would be almost impossible to continue devouring the origin energy in the future. On a mountain peak, not too far away from the Wansho sect, the entire mountain peak was 10,000 meters high. At a glance, it was as if it was sitting on top of the clouds. It was very spectacular. At this moment, at the peak of the mountain, Lu Yi and Longao stood facing the wind. The two of them did not speak. They just looked at the endless void in front of them. After an unknown period of time, Lu Yi suddenly said, Longao, I already know about the matter between you and Aoshue. If it was a few years ago, you would have definitely died. Even Aoshue would not be able to escape the fate of death. There was no surprise or worry. Longao was not a fool. He knew very well that if something had happened to Aoshue, Lu Yi would not say that, let alone help him. This also meant that Aoshue was definitely fine. As if she could guess what Longao was thinking, Lu Ye's face was full of admiration. She said, Aoshue is fine, and she is already pregnant with your child? Really? Hearing Lu Ye's words, Longao was simply overjoyed. At the same time, he was also very excited because he did not expect Aoshue to be pregnant. In other words, he, Longao, was going to be a father. This was great news. Before Lu Yi could say anything, Longao asked impatiently, Senior, where is Aoshue now? Can I see her? Longao, I just said that Aoshue's situation is not bad, but you can't see her now. Why is that? Longao was a little confused. Since Lu Yi had already helped him, it meant that the Phoenix clan would not oppose him and Aoshue. In that case, why would Lu Yi not let him see Aoshue? Aoshue's physique is very special, and even the child is problematic. We are now thinking of ways to help Aoshue. You must not be distracted. Once you see Aoshue, Aoshue will be distracted, and there will be a lot of trouble. Longao, since I don't oppose you two, you will definitely be together in the future. Why are you in such a hurry? You have to know that it is the best choice for Aoshue to stay in the Phoenix clan. Special physique? There is also a problem with the child? What the hell happened? After hearing Lu Ye's words, Longao's heart skipped a beat. He was full of worry and did not know what happened to Aoshue. Chapter 1428. Senior, please take care of Aoshue. After thinking about it, Longao still thought that Lu Yi was right. In this case, it was best for Aoshue to stay in the Phoenix clan. Aoshue is my granddaughter. I know what to do. Thinking of something, Lu Yi continued, Go back and tell Aotian that if he wants to be with my daughter, he has to cultivate. At the very least, he has to reach the supreme divine Tao. He was delighted. Regarding the matter of Aoshue's parents, Longao knew it clearly. No one knew about their pain after 20 years. Now that they had a chance to be together, how could Longao not be happy? But when he heard Lu Ye's last sentence, it was like a basin of cold water was poured over him. The supreme divine path, apart from the peak of martial arts and the nirvana realm, was already at the top of the martial arts pyramid. It was not easy to break through to the supreme divine path. Senior, it's a bit too difficult. Longao, I believe you know better than me how cruel reality is. Even the supreme divine path may not be able to do anything. Is my request too much? She did not continue. Longao knew the cruelty of reality better than anyone else. In this world where strength was respected, strength was the only way to live a better life. It could be said that, without strength, it was difficult to move an inch in this cruel world. Even your life was not in your own hands. This was reality. Senior, I will pass on your words to Uncle Aotion. Longao, you have now offended the Wansho sect, the Martial Artists Alliance, and the Long family. Even if you are confident, I'm afraid it won't be good for you to fight 1 against 3. Longao knew the meaning of Lu Ye's words. I have no choice. Longao had always obeyed the law. If people did not offend him, he would not offend them. If people offended him, he would pay them back double. Lu Yi wanted to say something, but she did not say it in the end. The enmity between Longao and the 3 superpowers was already there. It was impossible for him to go back on his word. Even if the Phoenix clan was strong, it was impossible for them to fight 1 against 3. Lu Yi knew her own limits. For words, helplessness. Moreover, it was impossible for Lu Yi to offend the 3 super forces for Longao. Even if Lu Yi was willing to take the risk, would the Phoenix clan be willing to? Longao, if I'm not mistaken, you've already broken through to the God Emperor realm? Exactly. Longao didn't hide this fact at all. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The surrounding trees began to sway, making a rustling sound. Longao was very curious. After Lu Yi asked that question, she didn't say anything else. She just stood there quietly and looked into the endless void. The night was exceptionally quiet. Lu Yi didn't say anything. Longao didn't say anything either because he didn't know what to say. Unknowingly, the night was slipping away, and the sun was setting. Longao, the reason I'm here this time around is to take a look. Remember this. Before you have the strength, don't be rash. Aoshue is still waiting for you. Longao was more or less grateful to Lu Yi in his heart. Without her, he wouldn't have been able to leave the Thousand Beasts sect so smoothly. If it were anyone else, why would they offend the old master of the Thousand Beasts sect for an outsider? Before Longao could say anything, Lu Ye's figure disappeared. Her speed was way too fast. Even with Longao's strength, he couldn't sense how Lu Yi did it. After Lu Yi left, Longao, there's a little trouble. What's wrong? Hearing Xilin's anxious voice, Longao's heart skipped a beat. Could something have happened again? Longao, according to my original guess, after Bai Ling swallowed the power of the heaven and earth spiritual vein, she should be able to recover half of her strength. When she enters the sword chi space, she will definitely wake up. Longao didn't say anything and just listened quietly. His intuition told him that there must be a change in the situation. The bad premonition was like a huge wave. Longao, I believe you should have already guessed that even if Bai Ling swallowed the power of the heaven and earth spiritual vein, it won't be of much help. His heart sank. What he was afraid of came true. Xiling, you mean that if Bai Ling wants to wake up, there's only one way, and that is to swallow the heaven and earth spiritual vein? That's right. Not only does Bai Ling need to swallow the heaven and earth spiritual vein, she also needs to swallow the core of the heaven and earth spiritual vein. Longao was very curious because he knew very well that Xiling wouldn't do that. Could there be something fishy about this? As if he could guess what Longao was thinking, Xiling said in a serious voice, under normal circumstances, Bai Ling can easily swallow the power of the heaven and earth spiritual vein, but I believe you know my sister's situation. This time, in order to help you, my sister is injured, so even if she swallows the power of the heaven and earth spiritual vein, it won't be of any help. So that's how it is. Longao knew that he couldn't blame Xiling for this. After all, even Xiling had never encountered such a situation. The only problem now was that he had finally left the Wanshou sect. If he chose to go back now, it would be like a sheep in a tiger's mouth. It would be even more difficult to leave the Wanshou sect. Longao, my sister has already swallowed the power of the heaven and earth spiritual vein. I believe that she will be fine for a short period of time. According to my estimation, she will be fine for at least a year. It would be better for you to avoid this period of time and think of a way to enter the Wanshou sect in the future. Longao was well aware of Xiling's good intentions. Even if Bai Ling could wait for a year, could he also wait? Xiling, I will immediately return to the Wanshou sect. No matter what happens, I will help Bai Ling obtain the heaven and earth spiritual vein. For Bai Ling, not to mention a slim chance of survival, even if there was no chance of survival, Longao would not hesitate. Longao, listen to me. If you return to the Wanshou sect now, not only will you not be able to obtain the heaven and earth spiritual vein, it will also be very difficult for you to leave. I know this very well, but for Bai Ling, I must return to the Wanshou sect. I don't want any accidents to happen. Although according to what Xiling said, there was still an entire year's time, but no one knew what would happen within a year's time. Because of this, in order to prevent any accidents from happening, Longao had already decided that he had to settle this matter as soon as possible, so as to avoid unnecessary complications. Xiling didn't say anything because she knew Longao's character very well. The Wanshou ancestor, Shichong, and the other three would never have thought that Longao would return to the Wanshou sect. Otherwise, the four of them would not have been so relaxed. No matter who it was, no one would have thought that Longao would return to the Wanshou sect. In the Wanshou sect, Longao used teleportation, his figure constantly flickering as he smoothly entered the Wanshou sect. Chapter 1429. No one would have thought that after Longao had left, he would return to the Wanshou sect. The Wanshou sect had returned to normal. Even the seal on the Wanshou cliff had been lifted. The disciples of the Wanshou sect could enter and cultivate. The Wanshou ancestor was overseeing the Wanshou sect, while the three of them followed Longao. Once Lu Yi left, they would immediately attack Longao. And the result? Not to mention Longao, just Lu Ye's strength made it impossible for the three of them to follow her. Wanshou Cliff. The current Wanshou Cliff was very deserted. Even if there were people, they were cultivating alone in the black holes. Longao silently entered the Wanshou Cliff. Looking left and right, he immediately shot toward a black hole. Inside the black hole, even now, Longao didn't know the exact location of the heaven-earth spirit vein. Even Xiling couldn't sense it. His expression was very ugly because Longao was very clear that the longer this dragged on, the more unfavorable it would be for him. He believed that the Wanshou ancestor and the other three would never have thought that he would return to the Wanshou sect. How could he determine the location of the heaven-earth spirit vein? Thinking back and forth, Longao couldn't think of a good idea for the time being. Inside the dragon seal space, Longao came to Bai Ling's side and gently stroked Bai Ling's hair. His face was filled with tenderness. Bai Ling, no matter what happens, I will help you obtain the heaven-earth spirit vein. After sitting quietly with Bai Ling for about 2 hours, Longao found Long Ming and Long Chong. He asked, "You've already entered the weak space. Tell me about it." Longao was very interested in the weak space. According to Xiling, the weak space was the space closest to the edge of the Tianwu continent. Once the weak space was damaged, the entire Tianwu continent would be destroyed. The reason was simple. The weak space was filled with taboo energy. In the entire Tianwu continent, other than the godly mathematician and the heavenly Tao, how many people could resist the taboo energy? Aside from Master Clairvoyant and the heavenly Tao, no one else could withstand the power of the taboo. Big brother, our luck is really good. After being sucked into the weak space, we were just stuck in the crack. Otherwise, we would have definitely been killed by the forbidden power. Longao already knew about this. Next, Long Ming and Long Chong explained the general situation of the weak space. After listening, Longao nodded in surprise. Longao had always believed that the martial heaven continent was boundless. There was no such thing as a boundary. However, after seeing the weak space, Longao realized that he had been looking at the sky from the bottom of a well. The Martial Heaven continent also had a limit. As for what was outside the Martial Heaven continent, he had no idea. Longao was almost certain that the weak space was not something he could touch. Even the godly mathematician and the heavenly Tao would not dare to touch it casually, let alone him. In the entire Martial Sky continent, there were probably only a few people who knew the secret of the weak space. Big brother, you still haven't confirmed the location of the heaven and earth spirit vein? Whether it was Long Chong or Long Ming, they naturally knew the situation of Bai Ling's sister. The two little fellows were also very worried about Bai Ling. They couldn't wait to lock onto the location of the heaven and earth spirit vein and obtain it to help sister Bai Ling wake up. He sighed deeply. Helplessly shaking his head, Longao said helplessly, if my guess is correct, the heaven and earth spirit vein should be within the Myriad Beast Cliff. As for where it is, I am still unable to confirm it. Big brother, why don't you let me try? You. Hearing Long Chong's words, Longao was very curious. Could it be that Long Chong had a way to determine the location of the heaven and earth spirit vein? Regardless of whether Long Chong could lock onto it or not, he had to try. Big brother, I can try. Okay. Longao and Long Chong left the dragon seal space. One man and one dragon appeared in the black hole at the same time. Longao said, remember, don't alert the enemy. Even if they couldn't sense the location of the heaven and earth spirit vein, they must not be discovered by the Myriad Beast sect. Otherwise, putting aside the danger, it would be even more difficult to continue to sense the existence of the heaven and earth spirit vein. Long Chong nodded. Of course, he knew the seriousness of the matter. Big brother, don't worry. Watch me. Long Chong had successfully integrated with the Dragon Crown, and his cultivation had also successfully broken through to the Supreme Realm. His aura was very strong. The aura he released, integrated with the Dragon Crown, silently enveloped the entire Myriad Beast Cliff. Unless it was a Nirvana Realm warrior, or an ultimate god or an emperor god, it was very difficult for anyone to sense the aura fluctuation of Long Quan. Looking at Long Chong, who was sensing the heaven and earth spirit vein, Longao was very anxious. He hoped that Long Chong could succeed. Time passed by bit. Myriad Beast Palace. Ancestor, we lost him. Chong and the other two looked at the ancestor in front of them in fear. The three of them did not expect that with their strength, they could still lose him. It was simply unbelievable. The Myriad Beast ancestor was not angry because he had already guessed this result. With Lu Ye's strength, it would be strange if the three of them were to follow him. What is the relationship between Longao and Lu Yi? Why did Lu Yi help Longao? Until now, the Myriad Beast ancestor could not figure out why Lu Yi would help Longao. After all, after this matter, the Phoenix clan and the Myriad Beast sect would become enemies. For Longao, was it worth it? No matter how he thought about it, the Myriad Beast ancestor still could not figure it out. Listening to the ancestor muttering to himself, Chong asked gloomily, Ancestor, what should we do now? Find? Where could they find him? The three of them knew very well that if Longao deliberately hid, then in the Tianwu continent, it would be like looking for a needle in a sea of people. Looking at the gloomy faces of the three, the Myriad Beast ancestor snorted coldly. Longao has already offended the Long family and the Martial Artists Alliance. According to what I know, the Long family is now attacking the Dragon Valley. As long as we watch from the sidelines, we can reap the benefits when the time comes. So that's how it is. Chong was still very worried and said, Ancestor, if that's the case, what if the Long family and the Martial Artists Alliance are not willing to let us do it? No matter what, the strength of the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family was there and could not be underestimated. Even if it was the Myriad Beast sect, it would be very troublesome to fight against the two of them alone. Don't worry about this. The Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family do not know the secret of the Jianling. Even if we kill Longao, they will only appreciate it and not think too much about it. They will do as I say. The three of them looked at each other. Since the ancestor had already said so, the three of them could only agree. Chapter 1430. Time flew by. Seeing that Long Chong had been sensing the location of the spiritual vein, Long Ao became more and more anxious. Could Long Chong sense the location of the spiritual vein? After 2 hours. Big brother, I sensed it. Hearing Long Chong's words, Long Ao was overjoyed. Where is it? He could not wait. Long Ao did not expect Long Chong to be able to sense the location of the spiritual vein. Big brother, the spiritual vein is sealed by the myriad beast aura shield. With our strength, even if we can find the location of the spiritual vein, it will be difficult to break the myriad beast aura shield. Myriad beast aura shield? He was a little depressed. Long Ao was familiar with the power of the myriad beast aura shield. Previously in the myriad beast hall, Shurchong had used the myriad beast aura shield to trap him. If not for the dragon seal, he would have died in the myriad beast hall. If that was the case, things would be very troublesome. However, things had already come to this point. Whether it was a mountain of knives or a sea of fire, Long Ao had already decided to go to the spiritual vein. Long Chong, let's go. Long Chong knew his big brother's character very well. Without any persuasion, Long Chong led Long Ao out of the black hole and prepared to go to the spiritual vein. According to Long Chong, the location of the heaven and earth spiritual vein was within the myriad beast cliff. If Long Chong had not sensed the location of the spiritual vein, it would not have been easy to find it. The entrance was located in one of the countless black holes. In the dark black hole, Big brother, the entrance is sealed by the myriad beast aura shield. Unless we break the myriad beast aura shield, we will not be able to enter. How could Long Ao not know Long Chong's words? Long Ao tried to touch the myriad beast aura shield. Without breaking it, he already knew that it would be difficult to break it with his strength alone. What should he do? Big brother, why don't you let Long Ming try? Long Ming? Although he didn't know if Long Ming could do it, Long Ao still didn't let go of the slightest opportunity. Just like before, he had never thought that Long Chong could really sense the location of the spirit veins. Summoning Long Ming from the dragon seal space, Long Ao went straight to the point and asked, Long Ming, is there any way to break the 10,000 beast aura barrier? The 10,000 beasts chi shield, as its name implied, was a kind of chi shield formed by gathering the power of over 10,000 spirit beasts. The myriad beast aura shield was incomparably powerful. If it weren't for the 10,000 beast chi barrier's power, the 10,000 beast sect wouldn't have used it to seal the heaven and earth spirit veins. However, the heaven and earth spiritual vein was the most important treasure of the Wan Shou sect. Big brother, let me try. Even Long Ming was not completely confident that he could break through the 10,000 beast aura shield. As Long Ao's cultivation broke through to the supreme realm, both Long Chong and Long Ming were close to breaking through to the supreme realm. They could use this opportunity to break through to the supreme realm in one fell swoop. Long Ming's physique was very special, as if he was born with the dark attribute. Long Ming gathered all the power in his body, gathered it all in one move, and hit the 10,000 beast aura shield fiercely. There was no sound. There was no movement at all. Did he fail? It seemed that Long Ao had already guessed that this would be the result, so he didn't feel the slightest bit surprised. In any case, Long Ming's strength had just broken through to the supreme realm, and he was about the same as him. If Long Ming could break through the 10,000 beasts chi cover, then wouldn't he and Long Chong be able to do the same? Big brother, I just tested it. The 10,000 beast aura shield here is very strong. It's very difficult for me to break it with my strength alone. Long Ming, what do you mean? Big brother, I have a way to break through the 10,000 beast aura shield. Hearing this, Long Ao was overjoyed. As long as he could break through the 10,000 beast aura shield, he wouldn't hesitate to pay any price. Long Ming, what should we do? Carefully observing the 10,000 beast aura shield in front of him, Long Ming thought for a moment and said, Big brother, you and I should be able to break through the 10,000 beast aura shield if we work together. But if we do that, the 10,000 beast sect will definitely know. Somewhat dignified, Long Ao was very clear that the 10,000 beast sect had set up the 10,000 beast aura shield without any backup plans. Once he broke through the 10,000 beast aura shield, the 10,000 beast ancestor would be the first to know. At that time, not to mention obtaining the heaven and earth spiritual vein. Whether he could leave the 10,000 beast cliff alive would be unknown. We can't alert the enemy. There was only one goal, and that was to obtain the heaven and earth spiritual vein. Unless it was a last resort, they couldn't alert the enemy. Whether it was Long Ming or Longao, both of them were somewhat solemn. This was because they could not act rashly and alert the enemy, but they also had to break the 10,000 beasts aura barrier. It was really difficult to come up with a perfect solution. What should they do? Long Ming, is there any other way to break the 10,000 beast aura shield without alerting the enemy? After thinking for a while, Longao said helplessly, "It's very difficult. I believe Big Brother already knows that the 10,000 beast aura shield is set up to seal the heaven and earth spiritual vein. No matter who it is, as long as they touch the 10,000 beast aura shield, the 10,000 beast aura shield will be the first to know." Without waiting for Longao to continue, Long Ming continued, "Unless an expert at the peak of the martial Dao comes in person, otherwise, no one can break the 10,000 beast aura shield without alerting the enemy." They were somewhat helpless. They had already found the location of the heaven and earth spiritual vein, but they couldn't break the 10,000 beast aura shield. It was like a big man who had been hungry for 3 days and 3 nights looking at a pile of steamed buns in front of him, but couldn't eat them. For a moment, Long Ming and Longao fell into silence, because one man and one tiger didn't know what to do. The heaven and earth spiritual vein was close at hand. As long as they broke the 10,000 beast aura shield, they would be able to see the heaven and earth spiritual vein. At this point, Longao couldn't give up, nor could he give up. There was only one thing that Longao couldn't be sure of, and that was how long it would take for the 10,000 beast ancestor and the others to arrive after he broke the 10,000 beast aura shield. If there was enough time to seize the heaven and earth spiritual vein, then even if they alerted the enemy, it wouldn't be a bad thing. But if they couldn't seize the heaven and earth spiritual vein and attracted the attention of the 10,000 beast ancestor and the others, then it would be a tragedy. Break or not? For a moment, Longao really didn't know what to do, and it was hard to decide. "Big Brother, we can't go on like this. Why don't we take a risk? If we can seize the heaven and earth spiritual vein in the shortest time, then even if the 10,000 beast ancestor and the others come, we don't have to worry. Even if we fail, will the 10,000 beast ancestor guard the heaven and earth spiritual vein all the time?" How could Longao not know Long Chong's intention? Under such circumstances, it seemed that the only way was to take a risk. Chapter 1431. Let's take a risk. After thinking about it, Longao finally decided to give it a try. "Long Chong, Long Ming, you and I will work together to break the myriad beast aura shield. Remember, we must seize the heaven and earth spiritual vein in the shortest time possible." Long Chong and Long Ming nodded. The two of them certainly knew the seriousness of the matter. The longer they delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. Just like that, Longao, Long Chong, and Long Ming stared at the aura shield in front of them. The aura of the three brothers surged wildly. The three brothers used all their strength in this attack. There could not be the slightest mistake. In the next second, the three brothers moved at the same time. The three of them worked together and struck the myriad beast aura shield with their strongest attack. As expected, just as Long Ming had guessed, the combined power of the three of them directly broke the 10,000 beast aura shield. Without the slightest hesitation, Long Chong and Long Ming disappeared from their original positions. Long Ao took a step forward and entered the aura shield. Just as the myriad beast aura shield was broken, on the other side of the myriad beast hall, the four of them were discussing what to do next. Shi Chong and the myriad beast ancestor's faces changed at the same time. "Ancestor, someone broke the myriad beast aura shield by force." He nodded. Could it be Long Ao? Even the myriad beast ancestor himself could not believe it. Long Ao was rescued by Lu Yi. Unless there was something wrong with his head, it was impossible for Long Ao to return to the myriad beast sect. If it was not Long Ao, then who could it be? "Big Brother, let's go quickly. Nothing must happen to the heaven and earth spiritual vein. because the spirit chi in the myriad beast mountain range was several times stronger than the outside world. Not only that, the heaven and earth spiritual vein was called the treasure of the myriad beast sect. Let's go. The four of them got up at the same time and rushed toward the myriad beast cliff. Longao, who had just broken through the 10,000 beasts chi cover, had just stepped into the chi cover when his entire figure had already disappeared. In the next moment, Longao had already appeared inside a huge cave. Underground cave. In the middle of the cave, there was a huge stone platform. On top of it was a meter-long spiritual vein. Without a doubt, it was the so-called spiritual vein of heaven and earth. Until now, Longao was still curious. Since the heaven and earth spirit vein was so small, why didn't the Wanshou sect take it away and leave it here? Spiritual veins of heaven and earth were treasures of heaven and earth. They were of great help to a martial artist's cultivation, regardless of anything else. After successfully entering the cave, the heaven and earth spirit vein was right in front of him. Of course, Longao would not let go of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Stretching out his right hand, he grabbed the heaven-earth spirit vein. According to Longao's estimation, as long as he gently grabbed, he believed that he could take away the heaven-earth spirit vein. But what was the result? The spiritual veins of heaven and earth did not move at all. Longao was shocked. He had never thought that the heaven and earth spirit vein would be so sturdy. Even with his strength, he could not take it away. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he would not have believed it. Now, Longao finally knew why the Wanshou ancestor and Shurchong did not take away the heaven-earth spirit vein. It turned out that the heaven-earth spirit vein was tightly sealed here. He had a feeling that even the Wanshou ancestor and Shurchong might not be able to take it away. Under this sort of situation, Longao could be considered depressed to the extreme. If there was enough time, he could slowly think of a way. But now, if there were no accidents, the Wanshou ancestor and Shurchong should have known that the Wanshou chi shield was broken. It would not take long for them to arrive here. Race against time. Even if Longao was racing against time, time did not wait for anyone. The Wanshou ancestor and the other three had already appeared in the Wanshou cliff. Entering the black hole, the four of them looked extremely gloomy when they saw the broken Wanshou chi shield. The four of them stepped into the Wanshou chi shield. In the next moment, the four of them appeared in the cave at the same time. There was no one in the cave. Seeing that the heaven-earth spirit vein was still there, the four of them let out a long sigh of relief. What was going on? Old ancestor, father, we found the heaven-earth spirit vein here. For countless years, no one has been able to touch it. Even if someone came in, it would be difficult to take it away. Shurpatian was very confident about this. When the myriad beast sect had discovered the heaven and earth spirit vein, even the myriad beast's ancestor had been unable to take it away. Left with no other choice, the ancestor could only seal the heaven and earth spirit vein here and set up the myriad beast sect's headquarters. If even the old ancestor could not take the heaven-earth spirit vein, who in the world could take it away except for the oracle and the heavenly Tao? Old ancestor, something is not right. You two go repair the Wanshou chi shield first. Shurchong and Shurfeng did not dare to say anything and immediately left to repair the damaged Wanshou chi shield. As for the 10,000 beasts ancestor, he silently stood in the middle of the cave. He released his aura and began to sense the surroundings of the cave. Up until that moment, the 10,000 beasts ancestor had a feeling that this matter was very likely related to Longao. Although this guess was a little hard to believe, he could not think of anyone other than Longao who could enter the cave and disappear. It was better to be safe than sorry. If it was really Longao, then wouldn't it mean that Longao was very likely in the cave? If that was the case, then once they left, Longao would continue to touch the heaven-earth spirit vein. Since the matter had already reached this point, the Thousand Beasts' old ancestor naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity. After a short while, Shurchong and Shurfeng returned smoothly. Shurchong said, "Old ancestor, we have already repaired the Thousand Beasts' chi cover. I have already discussed with my second brother. The Thousand Beasts' chi cover must have been broken by someone." As for Longao, he doesn't have the strength. Shechong and Shifeng did not believe that the Wan Shou Qi shield was broken by Longao. According to the Wan Shou Qi shield they had set up, not to mention Longao's strength, even an ordinary Nirvana realm cultivator would not necessarily be able to break it. How could the Wan Shou ancestor not know what Shechong and Shifeng meant? Even the Wan Shou ancestor did not believe that this was done by Longao. However, he could not gamble, nor did he dare to gamble. If it was really Longao and the heaven-earth spirit vein was taken away, the consequences would be unimaginable. If this was really done by Longao, then according to our previous estimation, Longao must have come to our Wan Shou sect this time for the heaven-earth spirit vein. He will not give up. Old ancestor, the chances of Longao returning to the sect are too small. Before, Longao left the sect with great difficulty. Unless there is something wrong with his head, Longao will not return. Big brother is right. Old ancestor, no matter how arrogant Longao is, it is impossible for him to return to the sect. If there is no accident, the Wan Shou Qi shield outside should have been broken by a Nirvana realm cultivator. After listening to the two's words, the Wan Shou ancestor began to think quietly. Under normal circumstances, this was definitely not done by Longao. Chapter 1432. Was it really Longao? Even now, the myriad beast's ancestor wasn't sure if it was Longao's doing. Ancestor, what should we do now? Staying here wasn't a good idea. The myriad beast's ancestor was a little troubled. If they left now and something happened to the spirit vein, it would be too late for regrets. Shifeng. Yes, ancestor. Shechong and Shipatian seem to have guessed something. Shifeng, from now on, you stay here. Remember, if it really is Longao, don't kill him. Inform me immediately. Shifeng cursed in his heart. It was almost certain that this was definitely not Longao's doing. Since that was the case, he would be an idiot if he stayed here and waited for the rabbit to show itself. Even if Shifeng was extremely unwilling and displeased, he knew very well that if he did not agree, the old ancestor would most likely turn against him. At that time, even if the old ancestor killed him, no one would stand up for him. In the myriad beast sect, the ancestor was the sky. No one dared to go against him. Shifeng could only nod reluctantly and say, "Don't worry, ancestor. I will look after the spirit vein." With a Nirvana realm cultivator guarding here, the myriad beast's ancestor wasn't too worried. Taking 10,000 steps back, even if it was Longao's doing, with his strength alone, not to mention one Longao, even 10 Longaos or 100 Longaos wouldn't be a match for Shifeng. The gap between a god king and a Nirvana realm cultivator was too big. It was an insurmountable gap. Let's go. The myriad beast's ancestor and the other two didn't stay in the cave. The three of them turned and left. In a short while, the three of them had disappeared without a trace. Shifeng was the only one left in the cave. If Longao comes back, I'll kill myself here. He cursed fiercely. Until now, Shifeng still didn't believe that Longao would dare to return to the myriad beast sect. As for the myriad beast's aura shield, he was 100% sure that it wasn't Longao's doing. In Shifeng's opinion, the ancestor must be afraid of Longao for being so nervous. It felt like a dream. It was unbelievable that the strongest person under the heavenly Tao would be like this. Shifeng looked at the spirit vein in front of him with greed. He knew that as long as he could devour the heaven and earth sect, his cultivation would definitely be able to break through to the Nirvana realm. It was just a thought. Even if he could, he wouldn't dare. Sitting down beside the stone platform, Shifeng helplessly started cultivating. Inside the dragon seal space. It's Nirvana realm. If that was the case, it would be difficult for him to go out. Not to mention, it was still unknown whether the heaven and earth spiritual vein could be taken away. Longao had already tried just now. With his strength alone, it was very difficult to move the heaven and earth spiritual vein. What should I do? Longao's expression was very serious. This situation was very unfavorable for him. No matter what, Shifeng's strength was there. If he wanted to go head-to-head, not only would he not be able to take the spirit vein, but he might not even be able to leave the cave. Longao, you can't act recklessly. Otherwise, you'll be in big trouble. Nodding. How could Longao not know about Xilinx worries? Tianwu continent, Phoenix race. How is Longao? Lu Ying already knew about the Myriad Beast sect. She wanted to meet her future son-in-law, whom she hadn't met yet. Not bad, but he's a bit reckless. If I hadn't rushed to the Myriad Beast sect in time, Longao wouldn't have been able to survive. Lu Ying was very clear about her father's strength. Lu Ying knew that Longao really wasn't bad. Otherwise, her father wouldn't have risked falling out with the Myriad Beasts sect to save Longao. Remember, you can't let Ao Xuan know about this. I know what to do. Seeing her daughter turn and leave, Lu Yi helplessly said, "It's been so many years, but you still refuse to forgive me." Lu Ying didn't say anything. She didn't know what to say in this situation. "I know I've let you down. I've already told Longao to tell Ao Tian that as long as his cultivation base can break through to the Supreme Realm, the two of you can be together again. Otherwise, even if you hate me for the rest of your life, you can't meet again." Hearing that, Lu Ying didn't feel the slightest excitement or joy. She was very clear about Ao Tian's talent and potential. Breaking through to the Supreme Realm was easier said than done. Taking a step back, even if Ao Tian really did break through to the Supreme Realm, who knew how long it would take? Lu Ying didn't dare to hope that she and Ao Tian would meet again. She only hoped that her daughter wouldn't follow in her footsteps. As if he could guess what his daughter was thinking, Lu Yi didn't say anything. This was the only thing he could do. The news of Longao causing trouble in the Myriad Beast sect had already spread throughout the Tianwu continent. Everyone was shocked because no one had thought that Longao would take the initiative to provoke the Myriad Beast sect. It was completely illogical. Very quickly, everyone came to their senses. What others wouldn't do didn't mean that Longao wouldn't do. After all, Longao had already caused trouble for the Long family and the Martial Artists Alliance. As for the matter of Lu Yi suddenly coming to the Myriad Beasts sect and defeating the Myriad Beasts' ancestor, the three of them had sealed the news. In other words, whether Longao had successfully left the Myriad Beasts sect or whether he had been killed by the Myriad Beasts sect was still unknown. Many people wanted to know and tried their best to find out. Unfortunately, even now, there was still no news from the Myriad Beasts sect. No one knew whether Longao was alive or dead. In fact, in many people's opinion, Longao's rampage in the Wan Shou sect bode ill rather than well. After all, the Wan Shou sect's Wan Shou ancestor was too powerful. He was known as the strongest person under the heavenly Tao. Even Tong Zun, Long Tian, and the others were not his match. In the Tianwu continent, everyone was talking about Longao and the Myriad Beast sect. Longao's fame was becoming more and more famous. On the other side, in the 9 prefectures continent, Long Tian still did not give up on attacking the Dragon Valley. Instead, he increased the intensity of his attacks. The old ancestor had gone to the 10,000 Array sect and never returned. There was no news of him at all. This made Long Tian extremely depressed. No one had thought that Longao's attainments in formations would be so high. The formation he had set up was so powerful that even the ancestor couldn't break it. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, who would have believed that such a thing could happen? Patriarch, we can't go on like this. Everyone is laughing at us. Chapter 1433. A joke? Right now, the Long clan itself was the biggest joke. Ever since Longao's first provocation and the Long family failed to kill Longao, the Long family had become a joke. Especially when Longao caused trouble for the Long family and resisted the forbidden power. Coupled with the fact that they couldn't break the barrier this time, the Long family was still one of the 10 great families. Long Tian's face was gloomy. As the leader of the Long family, the interests of the family had to come first. Long family had become a joke, and Long Tian had to bear the main responsibility. Continue attacking. Long Hang wasn't surprised at all because things had already reached this stage. The Dragon Valley had to be destroyed. Otherwise, the Long family would become a joke again. As long as the Dragon Valley is not destroyed, we will not stop attacking. Wave after wave, the Long family's attacks never stopped. One show sect. In the underground cave, Longao didn't dare to act rashly. After all, Feng was guarding the heaven and earth spirit vein. If he acted rashly, the consequences would be unimaginable. If the heaven and earth spirit vein was easy to obtain, Longao would have a 90% chance of success even if he took the risk. No matter what, he had the dragon seal in his hands. But the result? The heaven and earth spirit vein couldn't move at all. Longao was very depressed. He didn't know how to obtain the heaven and earth spirit vein. Longao, the heaven and earth spirit vein, is a treasure of heaven and earth. Not to mention you, even a Nirvana realm martial artist wouldn't be able to touch it. Hearing Xilinx's words, Longao was extremely depressed. Didn't that mean that he couldn't take the heaven and earth spirit vein? That meant that there was only one way, and that was to let Bai Ling devour the heaven and earth spirit vein in the cave. But was Feng willing to do that? He thought about it. In the end, Longao could only think of one way, and that was to split up. No, we can't do that. Hearing Longao's idea, Xilinx's face changed, and he resolutely objected. Longao's decision to split his troops into two was actually very simple. In other words, Longao wanted to use him as bait to lure Feng away. That way, there would be no danger in the cave, and Bai Ling could safely devour the heaven and earth spirit vein. Xiling, there's no other way. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Longao would not take this risk. Splitting up and luring Feng away was a risky move. After all, once they left the cave, they would attract the myriad beast ancestor and the others. If they got surrounded and attacked, the consequences would be unimaginable. Not only that, Longao knew very well that even if he lured Feng out of the cave, he would not be able to enter the Dragon Seal space. The reason was very simple. Once he entered the Dragon Seal space, he believed that Feng would immediately return to the cave. With Bai Ling's current state, could she withstand Feng's and the others' attacks? There was no doubt about it. It was a risky move. Even so, Longao was prepared to give it a try. Because other than this method, he really could not think of a better one. No matter what, Bai Ling's safety was the #1 priority. Xiling knew Longao's character too well. Once Longao decided on something, under normal circumstances, it was impossible to change his mind. Longao, be careful. Things had already reached this point, and Xiling had no other choice. She was also very clear about the relationship between her sister and Longao. They could sacrifice themselves for each other. Xiling, you and the two little guys stay here. Only you can help Bai Ling continue devouring the heaven and earth spirit vein. The current Bai Ling could already devour the heaven and earth spirit vein on her own. Even so, Longao was still worried about Bai Ling's safety. Taking a step back, if his plan to lure the wolf out of the cave failed, then Feng and the others would most likely return to the cave. At that time, Bai Ling, without anyone to take care of her, would be a piece of meat on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. Xiling, of course, knew what Longao meant. After thinking for a while, she nodded and replied, "No problem, big brother. Sister Xiling is enough to guard here. The two of us will go out and help you." Before Longao could speak, Xiling said, "Long Chong is right. The strength of 3 people is always greater. Longao, if something happens to you when your sister wakes up, what do you think will happen to her?" He looked at Bai Ling, who had been carried out, and then looked at Xiling and the 2 little guys. After thinking for a while, in the end, Longao nodded and agreed. In the cave, Feng sat quietly beside the heaven and earth spirit vein and cultivated. At his level of cultivation, relying on the heaven and earth spirit vein to cultivate was not very useful. If he wanted to break through from the Nirvana realm to the Nirvana rebirth realm, he had to rely on luck. He was only one step away. It was because of this one step that Feng had been stuck for decades. It would be a lie to say that he was not depressed. If I can devour this heaven and earth spirit vein, not to mention the Nirvana rebirth realm, even the peak of the Nirvana realm would not be a problem. Feng even wanted to forcefully devour it. Even if he was discovered, his cultivation would have already broken through. At that time, even if the old ancestor and the others were unhappy, what could they do? Kill him? That was not very likely. However, Shi Feng did not want to take the risk. Who knew what the old ancestor would do? If the old ancestor attacked him before he could break through, he would not even have the chance to regret. How shameless. Who? Who is it? If you have the ability, come out. Why are you sneaking around? Shi Feng was startled when he heard the sudden voice. Thinking about how the 10,000 beast aura barrier was broken, Shi Feng was sure that the person who broke the 10,000 beast aura barrier was inside the cave. He was simply courting death. Shi Feng, have you forgotten about me so quickly? Longao? Shi Feng was sure that the person who suddenly spoke was none other than Longao. At this moment, Shi Feng was simply shocked to the extreme because he never thought that Longao would really return to the Wanshou sect. After all, according to the logic of a normal person, since they had already left, they would not appear. Could it be that Longao was really fearless? After this matter, Shi Feng could also be sure that the reason why Longao was unwilling to leave again and again, even risking his life to enter this place, was because of the heaven and earth spirit vein. If that was the case, then everything would be easy to handle. Looking at the youth who suddenly appeared in front of him, Shi Feng sneered and said, Longao, I can't help but admire your courage. But don't worry, this time I want to see if there will be a second Lu Yi to help you. Lu Yi had already left and even returned to the Phoenix clan. In Shi Feng's opinion, Longao would definitely die if he returned to the Wanshou sect this time. If Longao could still escape, then the entire Wanshou sect, including him, should commit suicide. Chapter 1434. Courting Death? The calmer Longao appeared, the less confident Shi Feng felt in his heart. Could it be that Longao was truly fearless? If it were anyone else, Shi Feng would not even bother about them. But this Longao was different. To be able to disappear time and time again, and even get the help of Lu Yi. How many people in this world could do something like that? Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. All of a sudden, Shi Feng burst out laughing maniacally. His laughter was filled with contempt and mockery. Longao, you don't have to play tricks with me here. If you want to get the heaven and earth spirit vein, ask yourself this question. Can you do it? Shi Feng still did not take Longao seriously. No matter what, Longao was just a puny God King martial artist. No matter how fast his cultivation speed was, a God King martial artist was still a God King martial artist. In front of a Nirvana martial artist like Shi Feng, God King martial artists were just trash. He ignored the mockery and contempt. He scoffed coldly. Shi Feng, how about we make a bet? How about that? This again. Right now, Shi Feng was most afraid of making bets. This was especially the case with Longao. That was because Longao's space god weapon was way too strong. Each time they made a bet, Longao would definitely win. Longao, you're already a dead man. Do you think that I'll still make a bet with you? I almost forgot. You don't own up to the bet. If that's the case, there's no need to continue. Looking at Shi Feng, who was enraged to the max, Longao chuckled. Without giving Shi Feng any chance to speak, Longao continued, I'm not going to play with you anymore. I'm going to leave first. You want to leave? Shi Feng, it's not that I'm looking down on you, but you're not going to be able to keep me here. If anyone else were to say this, Shi Feng would definitely burst out laughing. Only Longao. Not only did Shi Feng not laugh, his face was even getting grimmer. That was because Longao had the help of his space god weapon and could leave at any time. Even the old master could not do anything about it, let alone Shi Feng. The next moment, Longao did not enter the Dragon Seal space because he originally wanted to lure Shi Feng away. If he entered the Dragon Seal space, wouldn't he have nothing to do? Longao used spatial teleportation to increase his speed to the extreme. Longao, it's not that easy for you to leave. Of course, Shi Feng didn't know what Longao was thinking. In his opinion, as long as he could kill Longao, he might be able to gain some benefits from the Patriarch. A short while later, Shi Feng chased Longao out of the cave. The 10,000 Beast Aura Shield was very special. One had to break the 10,000 Beast Aura Shield to enter, but it was not necessary to leave. Moreover, the 10,000 beast aura shield was undamaged. The two of them had just left. Xiling appeared with Bai Ling in his arms. Long Chong and Long Ming stood guard beside him. They did not dare to hesitate in the slightest, because Zi Ling and the two little fellows were very clear in their hearts that this opportunity was fought for by Longao. The longer they delayed, the more dangerous it would be for Longao. They had to race against time to buy more time for Longao. You two, guard the exit? Yes, big sister Xiling. Long Chong and Long Ming didn't dare to be careless. They immediately went to the exit of the cave. The two little guys looked at each other and saw a trace of seriousness in each other's eyes. They couldn't make any mistakes. Bai Ling, big sister is very envious of your relationship. Sigh. After a deep sigh, Xiling didn't say any more nonsense. She immediately communicated with Bai Ling in the heaven and earth spirit vein. Then, Bai Ling began to madly devour the heaven and earth spirit vein. Her devouring speed soared to the extreme. Even so, it wasn't easy for Bai Ling to devour the entire heaven and earth spirit vein in a short period of time. If Bai Ling had woken up, the devouring speed would have increased by a notch. Unfortunately, Bai Ling was currently unconscious. The only reason why it could reach this speed was because it had devoured the power of the heaven and earth spirit vein. At this rate, it will take about 6 hours for little sister to devour the entire heaven and earth spirit vein. 6 hours was enough to change everything. Could Long Ao stop Shifeng and the others for 6 hours? It was a little helpless. Now that things had come to this, even Violet Spirit could not do anything, because even with her strength, she was not a match for Shifeng and the others. In other words, even if she went out, not only would she not be able to help Long Ao, but she would also become a burden to Long Ao. Outside the cave, inside the cliff of beasts. Long Ao, why aren't you running? Looking at Long Ao, who had stopped, Shifeng sneered. Shifeng, I remember our bet. Every time you see me, you have to kowtow and admit your mistake. I really want to see your character. What he was afraid of really happened. Shifeng hated it when others mentioned this. Long Ao, the old ancestor and the others will be here in a few minutes. Today, I want to see how you can escape from under my nose. Long Ao cursed in his heart. He had full confidence that even if Shifeng was standing in front of him, he could still enter the dragon seal space without any scruples. Shifeng wanting to find him was simply a fool's dream. However, Long Ao didn't do so. The reason was simple. Long Ao knew very well that once he chose to enter the dragon seal space to find him, Shifeng and the others would definitely enter the cave. If that was the case, not only would Bai Ling be unable to devour the heaven and earth spiritual vein, her life would also be in danger. Because of this, no matter what happened, even if he knew that his life would be in danger if he continued to stay, Long Ao knew that he couldn't enter the dragon seal space. This was because he had to stall for time to buy time for Bai Ling to devour the heaven and earth spiritual vein. Shifeng walked towards Long Ao step by step. The aura of heaven and earth on his body had already ruthlessly pressed down. Long Ao also released his aura of heaven and earth. The two auras of heaven and earth fiercely collided. With a stride, Shifeng's entire body had already shot out. Shifeng wasn't a fool. He was very clear about Long Ao's strength. Just relying on the aura of heaven and earth to suppress Long Ao was very difficult to kill. Of course, Long Ao didn't dare to meet Shifeng head-on. After all, the difference in strength between them was too great. One was a divine king while the other was a nirvana realm. The difference between the two was like an insurmountable chasm. Using spatial teleportation, Long Ao's figure constantly flickered. He didn't meet Shifeng head-on, but instead used guerrilla warfare. This caused Shifeng to be very depressed. Long Ao, if you're a man, then have a fair fight with me. Why do you have to be so sneaky? Shameless. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen such a shameless person. Long Ao fiercely cursed in his heart. A fair fight? If it really was a fair fight, then the Wan Shou sect wouldn't have fought four against one. Long Ao couldn't be sure how long Bai Ling would need to devour the heaven and earth spiritual vein. Therefore, he had to keep delaying. He had to delay as long as he could for Bai Ling. He knew that this was his last chance. After this, he believed that the Wanshou sect would be prepared. Chapter 1435. One had to admit that spatial teleportation was very powerful. Longao couldn't fight against Shifeng with his own strength. However, with spatial teleportation, Longao was using guerrilla warfare, constantly moving around with Shifeng. Under such circumstances, Shifeng could be considered to be depressed to the extreme. He was a rebirth realm cultivator and the second in command of the Myriad Beast sect, yet he was unable to even kill a God King realm cultivator now. If news of this were to spread, then where would he put his face? Kill. Longao must die. Cursing in his heart, Shifeng used all his strength and increased his speed by a level. It was not a good idea to continue like this. Longao knew very well that if this continued, he would be the one to suffer in the end. Dozens of minutes later, the Wanshou sect ancestor, who had received the news, had arrived. Not only that, the Wanshou sect disciples were standing around the Wanshou cliff. These disciples had been cultivating in the black hole. Ever since Longao was rescued by Lu Yi, the Cliff of Beasts had been restored to its original state. The disciples of the Thousand Beasts sect could enter the black hole to cultivate. If the Thousand Beasts sect patriarch knew that Longao would return to the Cliff of Beasts, he would definitely continue to seal off the Cliff of Beasts. Ancestor. He waved his hand. The Wanshou sect ancestor already knew what had happened. Until now, the Wanshou sect ancestor and the other two did not expect Longao to return to the sect. If they did not see it with their own eyes, they would not believe it. Did Longao lose his mind? Or was his head kicked by a donkey? It was impossible for a normal person to return. The Wanshou sect ancestor said with admiration, Longao, I have to admire your courage. I know what you mean. Why don't you make a deal with me? Let's hear it. If it was any other time, Longao would definitely not talk nonsense. However, the situation was different now. He had to stall for time and buy time for Bai Ling to devour the heaven and earth spirit vein. Hand over the Jianling and the spatial artifact in your hand, and I will let you stay with the heaven and earth spirit vein for a year. How about it? The Wanshou sect ancestor could not hand over the heaven and earth spirit vein. Even if the Wanshou sect ancestor was willing to hand over the heaven and earth spirit vein, it was still unknown whether Longao could take it away. He was not surprised at all. Bai Ling's identity had already been exposed, and the Myriad Beast's ancestor would not rest until he obtained the Jianling. If it were anything else, perhaps Longao would really hand it over. Only Bai Ling. Moreover, he did not have a spatial artifact. The spatial artifact that the Myriad Beast's ancestor spoke of was the so-called spatial teleportation. How could he transfer the spatial teleportation? Longao, Jianling is of no use to you. Shifeng was shameless to the extreme. Longao, sacrifice yourself for a useless Jianling. Ask yourself, is it worth it? Without absolute confidence, the Myriad Beast's ancestor and the others would not casually make a move. Although they could interfere with the spatial fluctuations, it was impossible for Longao to use the spatial artifact to disappear. However, it was better to be safe than sorry. If Longao ran away, they would lose another opportunity. No problem, but I have a condition. Speak. As long as they could obtain the Jianling, no matter what it was, the Myriad Beast's ancestor would agree to it. In front of a Nirvana realm martial artist, the temptation of source energy was the greatest. Furthermore, the source energy of the sky martial continent had already been completely controlled by the heavenly Tao. Even if it was him, wanting to obtain the source energy was somewhat impossible. In other words, the Jianling was his only chance to break through to the peak of the martial path. Do you think it's appropriate here? Looking around, the Myriad Beast's ancestor nodded. Come with me. He sighed in relief. If he continued to stay here, he would bring danger to Bai Ling. The best way was to take the Myriad Beast's ancestor away from the Myriad Beast's cliff. That way, Bai Ling could devour the heaven and earth spirit vein without any restraint. As long as he did not leave, Bai Ling would not be in any danger. They did not seal the Myriad Beast's cliff. After all, Longao had already found it. The five of them left. All the disciples of Wan Shou sect were very curious as they watched the 5 people gradually disappear from their sight. They didn't know what had happened between Longao and their sect. It seemed like even the old ancestor was very afraid of Longao. Myriad Beasts Hall. Longao, state your condition. As long as it's not too excessive, I can't agree to it. He sneered inside. Longao was almost certain that as long as he handed over Bai Ling, the Myriad Beasts ancestor would even hand over the Myriad Beasts sect. The Myriad Beasts ancestor wouldn't have the slightest problem. It was still the same thing. He had to stall for time as much as possible. Myriad Beasts ancestor, I trust that you already know Jianling's identity. Since that's the case, I won't waste words. I can't give you the Jianling alone. I also have a share. What do you think? Hearing this, whether it was the Myriad Beasts ancestor, Shichong brothers, or Shirpatian, they all laughed. Longao, aren't you a little too ignorant? As everyone knows, only Nirvana realm martial artists can break through to the peak of martial arts by devouring the origin energy. With your strength, not to mention devouring the Jianling, even if you directly devour the origin energy, you won't have the slightest chance of breaking through to the peak of martial arts. Not only that, if you forcefully devour the Jianling, you will even self-destruct. Longao did not have the slightest doubt about the Myriad Beasts ancestor's words. It was the truth in itself. Without breaking through to the Nirvana realm, one's cultivation could not forcefully devour the origin energy. Once forcefully devouring the origin energy, there was no doubt that, as the Myriad Beasts ancestor said, one's body would immediately self-destruct. Because without breaking through to the Nirvana realm, one's body could not withstand the origin energy at all. If the Myriad Beasts ancestor and the others knew that it was impossible for Longao to devour the Jianling, who knew what they would think? The Myriad Beasts ancestor and the others were also anxious. If they thought about it carefully, they would definitely be able to understand that in the Battle of the Dragon Clan, Jianling did not hesitate to sacrifice himself to save Longao and forcefully resist the forbidden energy. Longao and Jianling did not have a strong relationship. Ask yourself, Jianling was not someone who had nothing better to do. Why would he help Longao and sacrifice himself? However, in this world, there were many people with a human face but a beast's heart. As the saying goes, one may know a person's face but not his heart. Even if Jianling helped Longao, Longao might not necessarily help Jianling. The Myriad Beasts ancestor and the others were full of confidence. In the face of life and death, everything was fleeting clouds. Would Longao disregard his own life to save Jianling? That was impossible. It was precisely because of this that the Myriad Beasts ancestor and the others were certain that Longao would definitely not defend Jianling to the death before his life was in danger. Myriad Beasts ancestor, since things have already reached this point, I will also speak the truth. The reason I want to protect Jianling is because I want to wait for my cultivation to break through to the Nirvana realm before devouring Jianling. Chapter 1436. The Myriad Beasts ancestor believed Longao's words. No matter who it was impossible to resist such a temptation. There was some disdain and contempt. Longao, if I'm not wrong, your cultivation has just broken through to the Supreme Realm. There's still a long way to go before you reach the Nirvana Realm. How long will it take for you to break through to the Nirvana Realm from the Supreme Realm? He didn't give Longao any chance to speak. Even if Longao's talent and potential were strong, it wouldn't be easy for him to break through from the Supreme Realm to the Nirvana Realm. 10 years? 20 years? Or 100 years? He ignored the Myriad Beasts' ancestors' disdain. From the beginning to the end, Longao didn't have any intention of devouring Bai Ling Myriad Beasts' ancestor. I almost sacrificed myself to get the Jianling back then. Do you think I'll be willing to give it to you for free? Nonsense. There was only one purpose for what Longao was doing now, and that was to stall for time to buy time for Bai Ling to devour the heaven and earth spirit vein. Longao, I can't wait that long for you. If it was a year, 2 years, or even 10 years, the Myriad Beasts ancestor would agree to it in order to get the Jianling. The problem now was, No one was sure how long Longao would take to break through from the Supreme Realm to the Nirvana Realm. As the myriad beasts' ancestor said, would Longao need 10 years to break through from the Supreme Realm to the Nirvana Realm? Or 20 years? Or 100 years? There were too many variables, and the myriad beasts' ancestor was definitely unwilling to wait. I have a way to get the best of both worlds. Speak. The myriad beasts' ancestor had lost his patience. If it wasn't for the Jianling, he would have attacked long ago and wouldn't be wasting time with Longao here. If the myriad beasts' ancestor knew that Longao was doing this to stall for time, the myriad beasts' ancestor and the other three would be angered to death. Myriad beasts' ancestor, although I can't move the heaven and earth spirit vein, if the four of you help me devour the heaven and earth spirit vein, I'll be able to break through from the Supreme Realm to the Nirvana Realm in less than a year. Hearing this, the four people's expressions changed. The four of them were not fools. Of course, they knew what Longao meant. The heaven and earth spirit vein was a supreme treasure. The myriad beast sect was the heaven and earth spirit vein was the heaven and earth spirit vein, and their disciples. For so many years, even the myriad beast's ancestor and the other beast's ancestor and the other beast's ancestor. And the myriad beast's ancestor the spirit vein for heaven and beasts. Longao's meaning was very simple. He wanted to borrow their strength to forcefully devour the heaven and earth spirit veins and forcefully break through to the Nirvana realm. Since then, Longao's cultivation had successfully broken through to the Nirvana stage, so he could devour the source energy. In other words, he could also devour the sword spirit. Shameless. The myriad beasts' ancestor cursed in their hearts. Before the myriad beasts' ancestor could speak, Longao smiled and continued, "If you don't want to, I won't force you." After a pause, Longao continued, "At most, I'll destroy the Jianling and fight to the death." Fight to the death? The myriad beasts' ancestor stared at Longao. They didn't know why, but Longao's determination made them lose all confidence. If Longao really destroyed the Jianling and fought to the death, it wouldn't benefit anyone. The reason was simple. The myriad beast's ancestor only wanted the Jianling. How could he let Longao fight to the death? Agree or not? If they agreed with Longao, the myriad beast sect would not only lose the heaven and earth spirit vein, but also create another peak martial Dao expert. In that case, it would be a threat to the myriad beast sect and them. If they didn't agree with Longao, they wouldn't be able to get the Jianling. Passive. Very passive. The myriad beast's ancestor seemed to be very unhappy with this passive feeling, but there was nothing he could do. After all, Longao had the Jianling and they didn't. This was Longao's advantage. Otherwise, how could Longao be so confident and dare to bargain with him? Longao, you're going too far. Am I? Longao shrugged helplessly. He looked like a dead pig that wasn't afraid of boiling water. Ancestor, the Jianling is mine. I risked my life to get it. I can't give it to you for free. Would you agree to the conditions you just mentioned? Of course not. No one would agree to the conditions put forward by the myriad beast's ancestor, because cultivating in the heaven and earth spirit vein for a year would only increase one's cultivation speed slightly. Compared to the peak martial Dao Jianling, it was not worth mentioning. In the end, the myriad beast's ancestor wasn't completely sure that Longao would give him the Jianling. If Longao played a trick, Longao would devour the heaven and earth spirit vein and break through to the Nirvana realm. If Longao didn't give him the Jianling and devoured the Jianling alone, the consequences would be unimaginable. Think about it. If Longao successfully broke through to the Nirvana realm and devoured the Jianling and continued to break through to the peak martial Dao, then not to mention the entire myriad beast sect, even if the 10 sects joined forces, they wouldn't be a match for Longao. The myriad beast's ancestor wasn't willing to take this risk and couldn't take it. Longao, you're playing with fire. Hearing these words, Longao smiled and said helplessly, Ancestor, you're not sincere at all. I've already made the biggest concession. I can't let you get the good stuff alone. You and I devour the Jianling at the same time and break through to the peak martial Dao at the same time. At that time, we'll split the world equally. Wouldn't that be great? Chong and the other two were shocked because Longao's meaning was very clear. Only the two of them could devour the Jianling, and the three of them had no chance at all. Once the ancestor agreed, the three of them would have no chance at all. Ancestor, Longao is clearly playing with us. If we agree and he goes back on his word, we'll be in a passive position. Of course, the three of them weren't willing to give up this opportunity. Even if they obtained the Jianling, the three of them could only devour half of it together. Even if they only obtained 1/3 of the Jianling, they still had a chance to break through to the peak martial Dao. Otherwise, if they followed Longao's plan, the three of them would have no chance at all. How could the three of them agree? How could the myriad beasts' ancestor not know what the three of them were thinking? Between Longao and the three of them, the myriad beasts' ancestor would definitely choose them. No matter what, the three of them were his juniors and had the same blood flowing in their bodies. Longao was different. There were too many variables. Who knew if Longao would turn around and deal with them after breaking through to the peak martial Dao? Without full confidence, the myriad beasts' ancestor would definitely not agree. For a moment, the two sides were in a deadlock. Longao was very excited because this way, he could buy more time for Bai Ling to devour the spiritual vein of heaven and earth. Chapter 1437. In the Sword Sect. Ancestor. I found out that Longao is still in the Wanshou sect. He was surprised. He felt helpless. Jin Tian didn't expect that Longao would take the risk to go to the Wanshou sect for a divine soul whose life was unknown. According to the news, Longao and the Wanshou sect were not on good terms. Otherwise, Longao and the Wanshou sect wouldn't have started a war. Longao's current situation could only be described with 4 words: besieged on all sides. The Martial Artists Alliance, the Long family, and the Wanshou sect. The 3 super forces were considered to be a force to be reckoned with. Any one of them was not to be trifled with. But what about Longao? Not only did he offend one of them, but he also offended the 3 superpowers. He was digging his own grave. Would a normal person do that? Longao is in big trouble. Ancestor, you and I both know what the Wanshou sect means. Longao offended the Wanshou sect this time and wanted to take the spiritual vein of heaven and earth. The Wanshou sect won't agree. Jin Tian nodded. Jin Tian thought for a while and said, "It seems that Longao is trapped in the Wanshou sect. If it was the Martial Artists Alliance or the Long family, I could help. But the Wanshou sect, the Tianwu continent, was a tripod. The Long family, the Alchemy Alliance, the Martial Artists Alliance, the Wanshou sect, the Heaven and Earth sect, the Five Elements sect, the Wanzhan school, the Sword sect, the Purple Thunder sect, and the Xintian sect. As everyone knew, the Long family, the Martial Artists Alliance, and the Heaven and Earth sect were the most powerful, while the Wanshou sect was the most mysterious. Jin Tian and Murong Guina knew that the real overlord was the Wanshou sect. Even the Long family, the Martial Artists Alliance, and the Heaven and Earth sect couldn't compete with the Wanshou sect. Even Jin Tian was afraid of the Wanshou sect. Ancestor, I keep feeling that Longao isn't normal. What do you mean? Jin Tian was surprised to hear Murong Guina's words. After thinking for a moment, Murong Guina said, Ancestor, Master Clairvoyant came looking for me. Hearing that, Jin Tian's expression became odd. As the Martial Heaven continent's #1 expert, there was no need to say much about the God Diviner's power. Even in terms of the Tao of divination, he was unrivaled. What business does Master Clairvoyant have with you? His intuition was telling him that the marvelous mathematician was looking for Murong Guina. It must have something to do with Longao. So, what was the matter? It's about Longao. As expected. Before Jin Tian could say anything, Murong Guina continued. Back then, the God Diviner came to me and said that Longao's fate would affect the Martial Heaven continent. Is that true? I don't know if it's true or not, but Master Clairvoyant's Tao of divination has always been very accurate. That's why I've been helping Longao for so long no matter what happened. So that's how it was. Jin Tian finally understood why Murong Guina had been supporting Longao. It was because of Master Clairvoyant. Ancestor, how much of Master Clairvoyant's words can we believe? At this point, even Moronguena was a little uncertain. No matter what, Longao had provoked the Martial Artists Alliance, the Long family, and the Wansho sect at the same time. Any one of the three superpowers could easily kill Longao, not to mention that the three superpowers had joined hands. Could Longao fight against three superpowers at the same time? Not to mention Longao. Even the Sword Sect didn't dare to provoke three superpowers at the same time. 1 against 3 was simply courting death. 10 points. 10 points? Hearing the ancestor's words, Moronguena was shocked. Longao is indeed a big variable. A small disciple of the Jiuzhou continent can cause such a big storm in the Tianwu continent. Longao is not simple. Ancestor, you may be right. Jin Tian waved his hand. How could Jin Tian not know what Moronguena wanted to say? He thought for a moment and said, "We'll do our best to help Longao. However, we can't openly provoke the Wansho sect. We need to think about this in the long run." Moronguena seemed like he wanted to say something, but after looking at the ancestor's expression, he swallowed his words in the end. Outer Sea. Outside the Crystal Palace. After leaving the Crystal Palace, Tong Zun and Long Tian looked at each other and saw a trace of surprise and helplessness in each other's eyes. Brother Long, within 3 years, you and I must finish refining the origin energy and break through to the peak of the martial path. Otherwise, both of us will disappear from this world forever. Nodding, Long Tian said helplessly, "You and I have already started refining the origin energy. Even if we go into seclusion, it won't help. Brother Tong, why don't you and I work together to kill Longao? That way, we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Longao is too big a variable. If we don't kill him in time, no one can be sure that Longao won't become our greatest enemy in the future." You mean you agree? No problem. Long Tian and Tong Zun both started refining the origin energy. If nothing unexpected happened, they would finish refining the origin energy within 3 years and smoothly break through to the peak of the martial path. If they smoothly broke through, their future would be bright. If they suddenly failed, the consequences could be imagined. Long Tian and Tong Zun had already decided that if they failed to break through to the peak of the martial path in 3 years, they would kill Longao and solve this problem for their sect. Otherwise, they would bring trouble to their sect. Brother Tong, if that's the case, let's work together to deal with Longao. I'll go back and prepare now. Long Tian's face was solemn as he said helplessly, "I believe Brother Tong has already heard the news. Not long ago, we successfully found the location of the Dragon Valley. Unfortunately, even if I worked together with the primordial divine dragon, we couldn't break through the Dragon Valley aura shield. This has become a great humiliation for our Long family." Tong Zun obviously knew about the Long family attacking the Dragon Valley. He didn't believe it at first, but since Long Tian said so, it seemed like it was true. That was why Tong Zun was shocked. Even if Longao was a formation master, even if he was a god-level formation master, his formation aura shield couldn't withstand the attack of a Nirvana realm martial artist. Was there a hidden meaning in Long Tian's words? Tong Zun wasn't a fool. He asked, "Brother Long, I understand what you mean. How about this? I'll go with you now and mobilize all the experts in the Alliance to the Dragon Valley. With our combined strength, I don't believe that we can't break through the Dragon Valley aura shield." This was what Long Tian wanted. Tong Zun and the Martial Artists Alliance were powerful. Long Tian smiled and said, "Thank you for your help, Brother Tong. Let's go." Nodding, Long Tian and Tong Zun didn't hesitate and immediately left. Chapter 1438. In the Outer Ocean. Outside the Crystal Palace. Looking at the 2 disappearing figures, the divine mathematician had a strange expression on his face. If the Heavenly Tao knew that he had created 2 experts who had reached the pinnacle of the martial Tao, would the Heavenly Tao be willing to accept it? When he created Long Batian behind the Heavenly Tao's back, the Heavenly Tao was already unhappy, let alone now. "I don't have any more time. I hope that the 2 of you won't disappoint me." Looking at the endless water in front of him, the divine mathematician muttered to himself, Longao. I hope that you can reach the pinnacle of the martial Tao within 3 years. Otherwise, at this point, the divine mathematician did not continue. Tong Zun and Long Tian left the outer ocean and rushed towards the 9 continents. Their speed was extremely fast. 2 black dots flickered and disappeared into the horizon. 9 continents, outside the Dragon Valley. Long family had more than 10,000 people surrounding the Dragon Valley. It could be said that even a fly would not be able to escape, let alone a person. The 10,000 people were divided into 10 groups and took turns to attack the Dragon Valley. Wave after wave, the attacks were endless. Even so, the Long family had been attacking for 10 days, but they were still unable to break the Dragon Valley Chi barrier. After this incident, the Long family had lost all their face and became the biggest joke in the Sky Martial continent. If Longao did not die, the Dragon Valley would not be destroyed. The Long family's joke would never disappear. Old ancestor, you're finally back. Seeing the 2 people who had suddenly appeared, Long Ditian and the rest were extremely surprised. The 2 of them were none other than Tong Zun and Long Tian, who had rushed back from the Crystal Palace. They were also the strongest warriors in the Sky Martial continent and had already reached the Nirvana Rebirth realm. Ditian, how is it? Old ancestor, we took turns to attack the Dragon Valley Chi barrier, but we were still unable to break it. Long Tian nodded and was not surprised at all. Long Tian was very clear that even he could not break the Dragon Valley Chi barrier, let alone Long Ditian and the rest. If Long Ditian could break the Dragon Valley Chi barrier, wouldn't that mean that his strength was inferior to Long Ditian and the rest? Brother Tong, what do you think? Tong Zun did not attack the Dragon Valley. If Long Tian could not break the Dragon Valley Chi barrier, then even he would not be able to break the Dragon Valley Chi barrier. Brother Long, what do you think? According to my guess, Long Ao must have set up a formation in the Dragon Valley. He shook his head. I don't think so. Why do you say that? Hearing Tong Zun's words, Long Tian was very curious. This was because almost everyone was certain that Long Ao had set up an air barrier formation in the Dragon Valley. However, Tong Zun must have his reasons for saying so. Could there be something fishy about it? Brother Long, how is Long Ao's attainment in formations? According to the information I received, Long Ao's attainments in formations are not bad. He has only reached the Emperor level, not even the God level. Array Masters were ranked from lowest to highest: 1st Grade Array Master, 2nd Grade Array Master, 3rd Grade Array Master, 4th Grade Array Master, 5th Grade Array Master, 6th Grade Array Master, 7th Grade Array Master, 8th Grade Array Master, and 9th Grade Array Master. Above the 9th Grade Array Master was the King Grade Array Master, the Emperor Grade Array Master, the Sovereign Grade Array Master, the Emperor Level Array Master, and the most powerful God Level Array Master. Even if we take a step back, even if Long Ao's formation level has broken through to the Divine Realm, the Chi shield he set up will not be able to withstand the combined forces of you, me, and the primordial Divine Dragon. Unless Myriad Formation Ancestor personally takes action. What do you think? How could Long Tian not know what Tong Zun meant? If that was the case, then that was indeed the case. Brother Tong, what do you think? Long Tian thought about it. Looking at the Dragon Valley in front of him, Tong Zun said gravely, under normal circumstances, with Brother Long's status, the Wanzhan School would definitely agree to your request. Long Tian did not speak. Long Tian had never imagined that he would be rejected by the Wanzhan School when he personally went to the Wanzhan School. There was no room for negotiation. How could he not be enraged? Anger aside, there was nothing he could do. After all, the Wanzhan School's strength was there for all to see. Even if the Long family and the Dragon Clan joined forces, they would not dare to casually provoke the Wanzhan School. In any case, the Wanzhan School's strength was there for all to see. Brother Long, according to my guess, this matter should have something to do with the Wanzhan School. Brother Tong, please speak more clearly. If I'm not mistaken, Long Ao and the Dragon Sect alone would not be able to set up such a powerful Chi barrier. It seems that the Wanzhan School helped, or even the Myriad Formation forefather himself. Otherwise, I really can't figure it out. Long Tian pondered. Tong Zun's words made sense. Now that he thought about it carefully, if the Wanzhan School hadn't helped, Would the Longao have been able to do it alone? In addition, the Wanjan school did not help them this time. This made Long Tian even more certain that the Wanjan school had something to do with this matter. We have no evidence. Even if the Wanjan school did it, we can't do anything. Brother Tong, let's see if we can break the Qi barrier together with the primordial divine dragon. At this point, whether or not the Wanjan school had something to do with the Wanjan school, they had no way of finding trouble with the Wanjan school. Tong Zun nodded. He also wanted to kill Long Ao, so of course, he would not refuse. In front of the Dragon Valley, Long Tian, Tong Zun, and the primordial divine dragon were the strongest martial artists at the time. They all stared at the Dragon Valley in front of them. In the next second, the dragon and the primordial divine dragon attacked at the same time. They attacked with all their might. The terrifying attack was like lightning, striking the Dragon Valley. Tens of thousands of people were watching. In everyone's eyes, the combined power of the dragon and the primordial divine dragon was unstoppable unless the ungodly mathematician and the heavenly Tao came personally. Under such circumstances, the Qi barrier of the Dragon Valley would definitely be broken. But what was the result? The Dragon Valley did not move at all. The combined attack of the dragon and the primordial divine dragon was like a stone sinking into the sea. The result was obvious. Even with the combined power of the dragon and the primordial divine dragon, they could not break the Qi barrier of the Dragon Valley. Was this for real? Looking at the undamaged Dragon Valley, everyone was dumbfounded. They swallowed their saliva, and some of them even rubbed their eyes hard. They could not believe what they were seeing. Everyone knew how terrifying the attack was. Even without testing it personally, they still could not break the Qi barrier of the Dragon Valley. If they did not see it with their own eyes, they would not believe it. Brother Long, this is big trouble. Even without Tong Zun's reminder, how could Long Tian not know? He sighed deeply. Something like this had never happened before. He said helplessly, Brother Tong, what do you think we should do? At this point, if we still can't break the Qi barrier of the Dragon Valley, I'm afraid. Chapter 1439. Long Tian couldn't bring himself to say it. Long family was utterly humiliated. Tong Zun sighed helplessly. No one would have thought that things would come to this. What should they do? Brother Long. It seems like it's going to be difficult for us to break the Dragon Valley barrier. Long Tian nodded. Unless Wanjan School helps us. Brother Tong, as you said, this might have something to do with Wanjan School. Therefore, Wanjan School won't help us. Suddenly, the surroundings fell silent. No one continued to speak. Everyone looked at the Dragon Valley in front of them. Even Tong Zun, Long Tian, and the primordial divine dragon couldn't break through the Dragon Valley Qi shield. In this world, other than the Oracle and the Heavenly Tao, who else could break through the Dragon Valley Qi shield? At this moment, Long Hang, who had been silent all this while, walked over. Old ancestor, I have an idea. Let's hear it. Long Hang seemed to have suffered a heavy blow. Something like this had never happened in all these years. Old ancestor, no matter what Long Ao does, the Dragon Valley barrier isn't something that you and I can break. Apart from the myriad formation ancestor, only the marvelous mathematician and Tian Dao can break the Dragon Valley barrier. Nonsense. Upon hearing Long Hang's words, both Tong Zun and Long Tian felt extremely depressed. Who else could be so influential as to ask the marvelous mathematician and Tian Dao for help? Long Hang didn't dare to say a word, as if he could guess what the two were thinking. No matter how unhappy he was, he didn't dare to say anything. Old ancestor, although the marvelous mathematician and Tian Dao can't descend, as long as we have the forbidden energy, I believe we can break the Dragon Valley barrier. Tong Zun and Long Tian weren't idiots. They understood what Long Hang meant as soon as Long Hang started. The forbidden energy. The Dragon Clan had the forbidden energy. Brother Long, Long Hang is right. As long as we can draw the forbidden energy of the Dragon Clan here, breaking the Dragon Valley barrier will be a piece of cake. The forbidden energy was the strongest energy in the world. It was also a destructive energy. Tong Zun and Long Tian were almost certain that as long as they had taboo energy, they would be able to break through the Dragon Valley air shield. Long Tian didn't say anything, but his expression became more and more serious. Under such circumstances, Long Hang's method was the best way to deal with the situation. Brother Long, what do you think? Tong Zun was a little anxious. Their joint effort had failed to break through the Dragon Valley Chi barrier. Not only had Long Tian and the Long family been humiliated, but he had also lost all his face. Only by destroying the Dragon Valley would they be able to regain some of their dignity. His expression changed again. Long Ao said helplessly, Long Hang, you're oversimplifying things. Forefather. He waved his hand. Long Tian stopped Long Hang from continuing and said, back then, the God Diviner helped the Dragon Clan set up the taboo power in order to protect the Dragon Clan from being destroyed. If we could use the taboo power as we pleased, do you think we would still be standing? Tong Zun and Long Hang's expressions changed when they heard this. That was indeed the case. Long family members could mobilize the power of the taboo. Apart from the oracle and the heavenly axiom, who else could resist the power of the taboo? Di Tian, come here. Long Di Tian did not say anything from the beginning to the end. As the leader of the Long family, he had been provoked by Long Ao time and time again. However, he could not kill Long Ao. He was responsible for this. Forefather. As for what Long Di Tian was thinking, Long Tian knew very well. Di Tian, this is not your fault. You don't have to blame yourself. Although Long Di Tian said this, he was still depressed. If he had known this would happen, he would have killed Long Ao directly. He believed that he would not have caused so much trouble, and caused so much trouble. Di Tian, what do you think? After thinking for a while, Long Di Tian said seriously, Senior Tong is right. Without the help of the Wanzhan school, it will be difficult for us to break through the Dragon Valley Chi barrier. Continue. The Great Elder has already said that the only way now is to use the forbidden power of the Dragon Clan. Old Ancestor, things have already come to this point. If we don't have a way to destroy the Dragon Valley, it will have a great impact on the Dragon Clan and even the Martial Art Alliance. Both Tong Zun and Long Tian knew this very well. We can't mobilize the power of the taboo. However, Forefather, from what I know, the Martial Artists Alliance obtained an extremely powerful super divine weapon 10,000 years ago. If we work together with this super divine weapon, I believe that we can break through the Dragon Valley Chi barrier. Brother Tong, look. Of course, Tong Zun was not willing to take out this super divine weapon. This was because everyone knew that this super divine weapon was the treasure of the Martial Artists Alliance. After so many years, the Martial Artists Alliance had never used it. However, since things had come to this point, if they did not destroy the Dragon Valley, it would greatly affect the Martial Artists Alliance and the Long family. Nodding, Tong Zun said, I will go back and get it now. 3 days later, we will attack with all our might. Everyone was staring intently at the Dragon Valley in front of them. 3 days later, the Dragon Valley's energy barrier would be forced to open. The Wan Shou sect. In the main hall, Long Ao and the Wan Shou sect forefather were in a stalemate. Neither of them was willing to back down. As for Shi Chong and the other two, they did not dare to say a word. Under such circumstances, only one person could make the decision, and that was the forefather, the Wan Shou sect forefather. Time passed by slowly. After an unknown period of time, the myriad beast's ancestor suddenly said, Long Ao, I can't agree to your request. I believe you should know what the spiritual vein of heaven and earth represents. If it were you, would you agree? No matter who it was, they would definitely not agree. Long Ao knew very well that no matter who it was, they would not agree, especially the Wan Shou sect forefather. No matter what, the Wan Shou sect's strength was obvious. Calculating the time, 4 hours had passed. Long Ao did not know if Bai Ling had successfully devoured the spiritual vein of heaven and earth. However, under such circumstances, the longer they delayed, the more advantageous it would be for Bai Ling, delaying time to buy more time for Bai Ling to devour the spiritual vein of heaven and earth. Forefather, I don't want to say anything else. I just want to ask you one thing. Jinling, who is at the peak of martial arts, I want to ask you, what can compare to him? Apart from origin energy, There was nothing else that could compare to a sword spirit that had reached the pinnacle of martial arts. How could the myriad beast's ancestor and the others not know this? However, the myriad beast's ancestor and the others were absolutely unwilling to sacrifice the spiritual vein of heaven and earth. Longao, if you insist on not giving in, I have an idea that will benefit both you and me. How about it? Longao was very surprised. He did not know what the Wanshou sect forefather was up to. Chapter 1440. Let's hear it. No matter what the myriad beast's ancestor said, Longao would never agree. Longao only had one motive for doing this, and that was to buy time for Bai Ling to devour the heaven and earth spirit vein. Longao, it's not impossible for you to devour the heaven and earth spirit vein. Ancestor. Hearing the ancestor's words, Shirchong and the other two were shocked. Was the ancestor really going to give the heaven and earth spirit vein to Longao? He waved his hand. Stopping the three of them from continuing, the myriad beast's ancestor said indifferently, Longao, as long as you hand over the Jinling now, we'll seal it together. After you devour the heaven and earth spirit vein and break through to the Nirvana realm, we can devour the Jinling together. What do you think? Shameless. Longao finally witnessed the shamelessness of the myriad beast's ancestor. Longao was not a fool. He knew very well what the myriad beast's ancestor meant. It was nothing more than a trap for him. If they sealed the Jinling together, who knew if he would be able to devour the Jinling by then? He sneered in his heart. Ancestor, do you take me for a fool? Longao, I've already given in. Don't push your luck. Clenching his fists tightly, the myriad beast's ancestor was clearly enraged at this moment. He was like an erupting volcano that could erupt at any moment. Logic told him that he had to endure. Before he got the Jinling, he had to endure. Otherwise, if Longao chose to fight to the death, it wouldn't benefit him at all. In other words, the myriad beast's ancestor didn't care about Longao's life at all. The only thing he cared about was the so-called Jinling. My concession is that you help me devour the heaven and earth spirit vein. After I break through to the Nirvana realm, we'll devour the Jinling together. Other than that, I won't agree to anything else. Longao sat firmly on the chair, not taking the four of them seriously. The more Longao acted like this, the more uncertain the myriad beast's ancestor and the others felt. No matter what, the trump card was in Longao's hands. The hall fell into silence once more. Holy Sense transmission. Ancestor, we can't go on like this. It seems that the Longao has us in his grasp. If this continues, the Longao will only get worse. How could the myriad beast's ancestor not know what Shirchong meant? Even if he knew, what could he do? Did he really have to kill Longao? They did not care about Longao's life or death. The only person the myriad beast's ancestor cared about was Jinling, who was at the peak of the martial path. It was because of Jinling that the myriad beast's ancestor endured time and time again. Shirchong, do you have any good ideas? Ancestor, Longao is too unpredictable. If we help Longao devour the heaven-earth spirit vein and allow his cultivation base to break through to the peak of the martial path, once Longao goes back on his word and devours the Jinling on his own, the consequences will be unimaginable. Shirchong's words were like a knife, stabbing into the myriad beast's ancestor's heart. Ancestor, why don't we kill Longao and then soul search him? At that time, we'll be able to easily obtain the Jinling. Soul search. This was the most sinister move in the world. Everyone on the martial heaven continent had a tacit understanding that no matter who it was, no one was allowed to use soul search. No matter who it was, no matter who it was. Even if someone wanted to use soul search, they could only do it in secret. That was because if news of soul search spread, not only would their reputation be ruined, but they would also become the target of scorn. Even the myriad beast's ancestor did not dare to casually use soul search. But in this situation, even if he used soul search, how many people would know? The myriad beast's ancestor was silent. Shirchong did not continue. Shirchong was very clear that the ancestor was definitely thinking about it. As for whether the ancestor would accept his method, that would depend on the ancestor. The myriad beast's ancestor was very clear that if he did not give in, soul search would be the only way. Moreover, just as Shi Chong had said, Longao was too unpredictable. If he helped Longao devour the heaven-earth spirit vein, Longao's cultivation base would smoothly break through to the nirvana realm. Then once he devoured the Jinling on his own, what would he do? It was completely conceivable. Once Longao devoured the Jinling and broke through to the peak of the martial path, the first person he would deal with would definitely be him. At that time, not only him, but everyone in the myriad beast sect would be eliminated by Longao. If that really happened, the consequences would be unimaginable. After thinking about it, in the end, the myriad beast's ancestor decided to use Shi Chong's method to kill Longao and soul search. All of a sudden, the myriad beast's ancestor smiled. However, before the myriad beast's ancestor could speak, Longao suddenly said, "Ancestor, are you going to kill me first and then soul search me?" Hearing Longao's words, not only the myriad beast's ancestor, but even Shi Chong was shocked. The two of them really could not figure out how Longao knew. After all, they were communicating with their spiritual senses. Could Longao hear them? No matter how powerful Longao was, it was impossible for him to hear their spiritual senses. The reason why Longao knew was completely based on speculation. Without full confidence, the myriad beast's ancestor would not agree to his request, and the myriad beast's ancestor was unwilling to give in. Other than that, there was only one way, which was the so-called soul search. A soul search would definitely yield the Jianling. Unless the myriad beast's ancestor and Shi Chong were crazy, they would definitely choose this method. Longao was a little amused. He had guessed correctly. Without the slightest fear, Longao said indifferently, "Ancestor, let me give you a piece of advice. You'd better not play tricks with me. I've already said that I can destroy the Jianling at any time. Instead of letting you take advantage, I'd rather fight to the death. When the time comes, I'll take the Jianling into the path of reincarnation. If I'm lucky, I might be able to devour the Jianling in my next life and break through to the peak of martial arts. What do you think?" The myriad beast's ancestor did not speak, but his face grew darker. This was because the myriad beast's ancestor never thought that Longao would be able to guess his and Shi Chong's thoughts. The more Longao acted like this, the more unsure Shi Chong and the myriad beast's ancestor felt. If his attack failed, then the prepared Longao would choose to fight to the death and destroy the Jianling. Wouldn't he have lost the chance to break through to the peak of martial arts? It was still the same words. He did not care about Longao's life or death, but nothing could happen to the Jianling. As such, the myriad beast's ancestor was a little troubled. If it were anyone else, the myriad beast's ancestor was confident that he would be able to kill them with a single strike. Only Longao. If this matter were to spread, no one would believe it. The mighty myriad beast's ancestor, the number one person under the heavenly Tao, did not have the slightest confidence that he would be able to kill a god-king cultivator. P.S. All 8 chapters have been delivered today. Longao will rest for a while and continue to write. Tomorrow, I will continue to write. I hope everyone will vote for Longao. Longao, thanks. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.